All right, folks, good to see you. Happy Tuesday. Some of you may be at work still. I took an extended vacation, another day off following Memorial Day. And excuse me that I'm still testing my sound settings here. So let's see. There we go. All right, how does that sound? It's probably a little bit better. Perfect. Okay, I think this is working out pretty good. Let's grab the chat here. So there's been some drama going on YouTube, and I found out about it a few days ago. It was early last week, from my friend and friend of the show, John Fabiano. He sent me a few links about some of the stuff that had been going on with Derek from MythVision. At least I think he'd mentioned it at least. He'd asked about Derek kind of replatforming Dr. Robert M. Price. And Derek had taken a little bit of heat a few years ago for having Robert M. Price on there after people started finding out that Robert M. Price has some problematic stuff. He's got some writings. He's got some fiction out there. It's not great. It's a little bit hinky. It's a skosh racist. And so I thought this stuff was all behind them for the most part. He had said after he'd gotten in trouble a couple of years ago, Robert M. Price was a guest on Doug's channel, Doug of Pine Creek. And Pine Creek had him on there and essentially offered really no pushback, but just a free space for Robert M. Price to just rip and run, where Robert M. Price demonstrated that he had done the homework. He knew every talking point from Tucker Carlson's news series, all of them. It was embarrassing, cringy, not entirely unexpected from what you'd kind of get out of an elderly, white, bearded dude who tilts conservative, except that Dr. Price kind of tilts fashy. So here we are, 2025, and he has reappeared as a guest on Gnostic Informant, which is a channel I never really follow that closely, but I think the guy that runs that is Neil, and Derek Lambert's channel, which is MythVision. And I am a subscriber to MythVision, not for long. At least I think I am. I'm not sure. I'll have to check my status on that. But I don't often catch his material. I admire what his show does, and he's offered a huge platform for lay people like myself to get access and hear from a lot of different biblical scholars and historians and people in those fields, their takes on biblical history, biblical scholarship, and in some cases their takes on theology. So it's been a good channel for that. Given that was one of the reasons why there was a big pushback against Robert M. Price in the first place, because while it was a pretty inclusive place, lots of different people. It wasn't just an atheist hangout. Different people that were, theists, deists, pantheists, panentheists, deeply devoted Christians who were interested in biblical scholarship could go to that channel and listen to people like Bart Ehrman and Dr. Kip Davis, and I think Dr. Joel Badden's been on there a few times. I know Dr. Josh Bowen has been on several times. So this was a really good resource for a lot of people to, kind of casually get into this area without having to, go to college. Frankly, he was kind of luring people out of the ivory tower who were eager to talk about this stuff. One of the things that he didn't shy away from was featuring mythicists. And the two big mythicists, at least the ones that I can think of, are Richard Carrier and Robert M. Price. And those are sort of the two, I think, most credentialed individuals in the biblical scholarship area that take mythicism super seriously and were really proffering it. And so Derek had them on both quite a bit. Okay, well, so there was some trouble. There was, some things, and most of the people I think in my community know what they are. And Derek spent several months going back and forth and was quite hurt and traumatized, and rightfully so. I'm not saying he wasn't. And he did what he called the crybaby video, his words, not mine, where he got very emotional, where he was basically talking about kind of severing ties with Dr. Price, at least in terms of having him on a show, because he was getting pushback from other scholars that otherwise would have been guests on his show. They were uncomfortable being associated with the show as long as Derek continued to platform Dr. Price. So that's sort of where I got left off, and things were seemingly settled. Now, Dr. Price has, I think, appeared on both channels, Gnostic Informant and the other one, MythVision, and has gotten pushback. People are wondering, hey, what's the deal? What's with the 180? Has something happened? Has something changed? You had some pretty strong feelings about why you were sort of divorcing yourself of this guy speaking on your channel. Well, Derek posted a response to that, and it is not good. So we're going to get into that. I'm going to play that right now. First, I'm going to say hello to a few people that are here. Hello from Hillbilly Hell. Hello, Hillbilly Hell. I mean, Kent Hovind CPA. How are you doing? I hope the weather's getting better down there. Spooky is here. Good to see you. Bellywood's here. Rebecca. Hello, hello. Pragmatic Crystal's here. Hello and thank you. Fabio is here. Ciao, Fabio. How's it going? Doug effing loved it. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You bet he did. He loved it. Thank you for the link to my Blue Sky thing. I do have an announcement to make about that. My Blue Sky right now is currently my only channel's social media outlet. I have deleted my TikTok extension mostly because I'm trying to take a break from social media, not only in terms of like creating content, but also in terms of consuming it. So I'm starting to chop off certain branches. I just finally deleted my my personal Facebook page, which needed, that's been done before, but I've had it for a while just to stay in contact with far-flung friends and stuff, but it ceased to be valuable for that, and it's just a security breach, so that's gone too. Let's see. He'll be booked on Pine Creek, probably. Yeah, Derek will probably end up on Pine Creek. I wouldn't be surprised within the next week or two. I'm with you by Derek. Ron Johnson. Good to see you, Ron. Amy is here. Good to see you, Amy. How are you? Let's see. Yeah, these are pretty good links here. The Rydar, Cutting Ties with Robert M. Price. There's Deep Cuts. This one. Dope War of the Black Tongue from 1996. This would have been from Robert Price. This probably is one of his attempts at fiction. This one, Nautical Looking Negroes, possibly nonfiction or fiction, really can't tell with the way he writes. We're going to get into some of the reasons why this is an issue later as we go through this. I'm going to try to get into some of the history of this. The three links that I have available in the description. One is to Derek's video, this 51-minute video that I'm going to be covering here. The second and third links are to the same channel, but they were mirrored. They're from Maya Atkinson and Jay, or Pocket Locker, and they did about a 4-hour hangout where they were talking about this. This was early this last week or last Sunday, so I think it was last Monday. And they go through the entire thing with it. They have several guests on there. Jessica, the person that's actually showing up in the thing here, right there, Chrissy Hansen. She's a guest on that 4-hour show. She's the reason that she's featured in the first frame of Derek's video is specific, and we'll get into that. I'm not going to try to capture all of the drama of this. I'll try to give pointers to provide context to it. My goal is just to go over this video from Derek and evaluate what he's saying and how he's saying it, especially given that a lot of the people, this is a guy with just under 300,000 subs. And he's picking this fight I think he would say that the fight has been picked, against him. But he's now choosing to have this very publicly with his channel. And his channel, the people that he's fighting against, I think have much, much smaller channels than he does. So it's a little unusual to me. And his rhetoric, I think, is a little bit troublesome given what he's trying to communicate. And also, if you figure that, okay, if there's a disconnect between what I think he's trying to say and the words he's choosing, he might be trying to communicate the opposite, which is even worse than what he's getting wrong. So we'll get into that. Am I the only one who thinks they look like Cat at Jefferson Dispatch Guy? I don't know. You mean Chrissy? That I'm not sure. Let's see. Lately, thinking gets rather hopeless for us humans, at least in terms of human thinking and reasoning. Yeah, I'm kind of getting there. Yeah. So, and yeah, Pragmatic Crystals posted links. That's the one to Maya. This is the one to Jay. Give those a check. Trusty Ape. I really liked what they did with their video. I watched the entire thing. It took a while. I've been watching over the holiday weekend, in pieces. Got the whole thing watched today. Finally, wrapped it up. I thought the whole thing was informative and worth seeing. I heard a lot more things about Robert Price than I knew about. I wasn't really invested in this, but back when I heard about it, I was willing to bet that if people were upset about things that this dude had said, they probably had reason to be. And then I saw him on Pine Creek's video. That is a video I did not link here. Pine Creek has reposted that interview with Robert M. Price. Tellingly enough, he has not reposted the video interview he did with Derek Lambert around the same time, which the claims Derek made there kind of contradict some of the things he's trying to make here. So Maya says, I wasn't expecting this so early. No, I did change my mind. I did text you about this, Maya. I do apologize. I wondered if Maya wanted to come on. Maya's already covered this quite a bit, and she was like, I don't really need to. And I agree with her. She doesn't have to. She and Jay have covered this, I think, more thoroughly than I'm going to. But I did send you one just to kind of give you a warning. I was going to do this now in the afternoon rather than waiting until the end of the day. Just so while the thoughts are still in my head, I had notes prepared and everything. I did my homework. At least I tried. So, yeah, sorry, working. Yeah, I know you are. And that's kind of the problem. I knew I was going to be going live when other people were working, but it's the best time of day for me to try to grab this. So let's see about getting into this. Let's see what he's got. I'm going to increase the speed on this just a bit so I don't get too bogged down with it. I'm going to bump it up just to 1.25. If it bugs anybody, give a shout in the comments. It shouldn't be too bad. Derek is a pretty clear speaker, and pretty measured. So unless the clips start getting kind of too fast, let me know. All right, here we go. Let's make sure that's turned up. Also, switch positions here.
Just doing normal Chrissy things, ending people's careers,
Doing normal Chrissy things and ending people's careers,
Crutch.
My name is Derek Paul Joseph Lambert, and I'm leaving the online atheist cult publicly today. In fact, happy birthday to me because I'm recording this video and it's my 37th birthday.
Happy birthday. Okay, so already there's a problem. So he's leaving the online atheist cult as of this video. He's changed the topic of this video at least twice. Now it currently says MythVision warning, toxic people are trying to destroy careers, ellipses, and I'm over it. The original one was something like, why I'm leaving the online atheist cult. And then he changed it after some pushback, I think, in his comments to why I'm leaving or why I will leave online atheist cult, trying to diminish it. And now he's changed it to this. The rhetoric in the video that he set up already, though, is like, I'm leaving the online atheist cult. Okay. All right. So you're generalizing sweepingly. Not a great start, bro. Like, if you're having issues with a certain segment of viewers in your channel, then deal with them. But some of the people that you're having disagreements are not atheists. They're not. And as we'll see later on, Derek will then try to blame they're leftists. They're crazy, woke leftists. Not all of them are leftists either. So let's go.
It's unfortunate that I haven't slept well in the past 4 days because of extreme drama from this community. While I can blame them, and I will.
Yeah, I apologize, Pragmatic Crystal. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for posting those links. Yeah, if you don't want to catch this, I totally understand. Thank you for stopping by.
I share responsibility in this. But before I explain the reasons,
share responsibility in what? The way people are reacting or the situation entirely?
I will be leaving this extremely controlling cult. And also why I will be platforming my old friend, Dr. Robert M. Price. I want to take you back into my life and share.
I just want to point out that these are not necessarily connected. Like, he's already kind of setting this up as like, I'm getting out of this very controlling cult, and I'm going to share why I'm going to be platforming my old friend, Dr. Price, as if that these are connected. I don't think they're as connected as Derek would like us to believe.
Share some experiences with you so I understand so you understand why I've come to this conclusion.
Thanks, man.
So please stay tuned. And if you agree with my decisions, I seriously could use your help right now, because people honestly are trying to destroy everything I built for making this public. And
I don't think that they are. I don't think they're trying to destroy literally everything that he's built. I mean, there might be some people that are inspired at this point, given like the 180 and some of the intransigence he demonstrates in this video. But destroying everything, no. I think most people are trying to tell him, like, look, I like what you've done with your channel, but if this is going to continue to be a component of the content you have on it, I'm not going to watch. So miss me with it. You know, good knowing you. See ya. I think that'd probably be the vast majority of people. There might be some people out there that are actively like, look, I'm going to dig into like his guests. I'm going to try to figure out like, what kind of connections they have, dox them to their job or whatever. Like if somebody's dedicated enough to do that, like, you know what, if you end up finding out something like horrific or whatever, vaya con Dios, it's going to be between, it's up to you if whether or not you want to, put that out there, you want to take that journey. But Derek is just automatically seems to be assuming they're here to destroy me. Like I wasn't aware that disagreeing with people was about destroying the other person. But maybe I'm getting this cancel culture and woke stuff wrong, but it kind of sounds like Derek is being a little bit sensitive to the woke, a little bit woke himself. Like, I'm just trying to speak, I'm just here asking questions. Okay. If you're platforming people that might be racist, you might end up having to take a little bit of grief for that. Now, if you don't have a problem with that, then just say that you don't have a problem with that, except the fact you'll lose views. But don't get on here and try to say, well, the reason I'm losing views is because these people made it a problem. I'm not a bad guy. They made me look like a bad guy. And that's why they're here. Like, just embrace it. Michael says, I lost respect for Price back in 2015 when he referred to Hillary Clinton as Hitlery. Listen, the Clintons aren't perfect, but yeah, exactly. He does a lot of that kind of stuff. Robert M. Price, as we'll see here later on, Robert Price has, well, if you are interested, go check out the video that he did with Doug from Pine Creek. Or better yet, they cover some of his statements in Pocket Locker's video and on Maya Atkinson's video, whichever link you go to. Maya clipped together bits and pieces of some of that stuff, some of what Robert Price was saying to Doug when being interviewed, to keep it fair, and speak his mind. And it was fucking awful. It was pretty fucking awful. So the Hitlery thing is actually kind of tame. Kip Davis is here. Good to see you, Kip. Really enjoyed your presence in Maya and Jay's show. I thought you made some really good points in there. Maya says, no one is trying to destroy anything. We don't care if they're friends. Just asking them not to throw rabid extremists in our faces. Yeah. And it's good to see you too, Michael. Did you just get back? Never mind. I won't ask you to do that. I'm not going to ask you to dox your vacation plans. I think you've been out of the country on vacation, but Fabio says, in the immortal words of Douglas Adams, goodbye and thanks for all the fish. Yeah, those dolphins, they knew the score. I tried to put it all together. Someone let the riffraff in. It's fine. It worked out. I'm not gonna. I won't assume who you're throwing under the bus there, but it was a good show.
For having Bob back.
The headrest had to match the quality and the expectations.
John makes a
of
great
this
chair.
iconic chair that would
Stop chair shaming.
I've been threatened to be boycotted, and people will literally attempt to destroy my livelihood and my wife's business, mvp-courses.com. I care about nothing more.
I got to admire Derek's pluck here. Like, he's like, oh, they're not only trying to destroy me and my business, they're trying to destroy my wife and her business, mvp.com. Ding. Link available in the corner. He didn't put the link available in the corner. It would have been great if he had, though.
More in this world than my children, Derek, Caleb, and Caden. I got a tattoo. And my beautiful wife, Ryan. Their names are on my arm. They're what those who attack me and attempt to destroy me are trying.
I don't understand the significance of that. So if I have the heart tattoo with mom written in it, like, I don't know what that means.
In my mind, I'm a fighter, and I can promise you I won't give up easy. And if this means scorch earth on everyone,
Michael's, I'm going to Paris soon and then Mexico. Of course, no worries. I'm not that important. That's fine. I'm just living vicariously through your travels. It's no big deal. No big deal.
On all the details about this community, and they need to be released for the world to know, I will gladly do it for them. Let me take you back into my past briefly. I was born into a family with two wonderful parents, Mike and Patty. They were raised as Christians. Dad was a Roman Catholic. Mom was a Pentecostal holiness person. My father was often deployed overseas, being he was a Green Beret in the Special Forces, hardcore military guy. And Mom would take us to church on Sundays, bribe us with some buffets, and we'd go. This was the best memories of the start of my initiation.
Buffets, plural?
Into Christianity. I eventually really had a conversion experience in the 6th grade at Cornerstone Christian Academy in Fayetteville, North Carolina.
I mean, where many people do. Thank you, Maya, for the musical accompaniment. He's going to get into a long bit here. I think I'm going to play this through. Let's just see how far we get.
Where I had a profound experience at an altar call, receiving Jesus into my life. I was serious about my commitment to this faith, and over the many years between juggling girlfriends and middle and high school to partying.
One should not juggle girlfriends, plural. One should not do that. One should have a girlfriend, unless you're in an open relationship and consent is, understood. Add 12 new subs, Lamau. Yeah. I don't know if you did, Nitty, but I think Maya may have. And to anybody that watches this now or watches it later, please don't sub to me. Sub to Nitty and sub to Maya Adkisson's channel, because they're going to end up talking about this a lot more than I will later on. Nitty, I did start watching your reaction video. I've made it about halfway through. I haven't seen all of it. So far, what I've liked has been very, very good.
Being with the rest of the kids, drinking alcohol at bonfires, I would really take my religion serious.
Nitty, you're probably right. I think this stream from Derek has gotten maybe 10 or 15,000 more streams on average than the past handful. So he's doing good, being up to no good.
Joined a house church early on, and
I forgot to mention this. So while I am a subscriber to MythVision, I should mention this because of my reputation as being kind of a troll's troll or a troller of trolls, because I'm kind of a left-wing scumbag nuisance. That's sort of how I set out to do things. That's not exactly what's happening here. I don't disrespect Derek's channel. In fact, I like a lot of what it's done, and I mentioned that at the beginning. I don't have any personal beef with Derek. I don't think Derek and I have even ever exchanged texts before in the past. Derek and I have hung out in certain similar circles, in that we've both talked to Dr. Josh Bowen and people like this. Other than that, I have no real issues with him, other than maybe some aesthetic choices that he makes with his channel, and some presentation things that he makes with his channel, and that MythVision kind of comes across as two things. One is to present sort of just raw scholarship, but Derek tends to kind of pivot it into a kind of Stargateification of somebody's previous belief system. Like, listen to this person and listen to the take they have on this ancient scholarship, and then imagine, if you will, what that means for a Jesus who has claws, or something like that. I'm exaggerating, but it just kind of, it feels like that's kind of where he's going with it. Like, just, hey, use your imagination. Sometimes that's fine. I mean, marketing is always a little bit manipulative, and I'm not against it. But I've always had a little bit of a quibble with it about there, but not enough to say, like, I don't recommend the channel. I've always respected the fact that he offers this content. But this stuff, this kind of drama stuff, this is getting a little out of control. Welcome, John. John also agrees with me. He says, don't listen to me. Like and subscribe to everyone. Yes, please do that. I have no idea who this guy is or the reasons behind all of this, but this is a Steve McRae 2.0 situation. I don't think it's quite as... Okay, he's not the Steve McRae in this situation. He is trying to bring back a guy that makes Steve McRae look like the Pillsbury Doughboy in a way. Like, Dr. Robert M. Price has some deeply problematic views. Although Steve McRae is a rape apologist, so they're probably about equivalent. So this is similar in the sense that what Derek is essentially trying to do here is he knows that Robert M. Price is problematic. He knew these views were an issue. He separated himself from him a couple of years ago. Now he's getting defensive, making these kinds of videos and bringing Dr. Robert M. Price back, and then doing videos like this to justify why it's perfectly okay for him to do that. Robert M. Price did nothing wrong, or if he did, it's not as bad as you think, or not in the way that you thought. So it's a mess. So I'm trying to sort this out as much as I can. For those of you who don't have a frame of reference for this, I'm going to try to give background info as I hear him make a case for himself. Right now, he's just kind of going through his family history for reasons that I don't entirely understand. So here we go. Also, hello, Mr. Mowdy, and I enjoyed that last video.
I believe they had the truth. They were King James onlyists, and we all spoke in tongues. Some of them even prophesied. This was a very charismatic movement. Even my pastor was a female named Ellie. I really trusted her as a spiritual authority. She once told me Jesus told her that he was coming back before she died. And it's been over 12 years since she's passed away as I'm making this video.
Yeah, Daniel. Yeah, anti-cancel culture superpowers activate. It feels like Daryl's trying to just kind of throw off this. Yeah, he's just he'll stop it himself. Maybe Derek and Bob will start a white supremacy stream with Doug at Pine Creek. I mean, watch not this space, but watch that space.
As I went through high school, I met a girl who would turn out to be my wife, the love of my life, Ryan. And she was pregnant at 16 while I was 17, turning 18. I started a landscaping company while I was still in high school and worked with my hands since graduating high school. Here I was turning 18 and
we all work with our hands. As a bureaucrat, I work with my hands every day. These delicate tootsies to do a lot of typing.
I'm a young man who doesn't know shit about life, and I'm about to have a child and get married. I'm extremely lucky I married Ryan because she's literally the best thing I could have asked for as a man. For the next 10 years, I went from job.
Do you ever wonder how Nectar can offer such an incredible deal for their adjustable bundle? This bundle includes
massive
the Nectar mattress.
overprice. Yeah, they're massively overpriced to begin with. So yeah, you can do an 80% discount when it was a $4,000 mattress that cost $180 to make because of slaves. What did Price do? Price has done a variety of different things. So I guess I should do this now. Some of you haven't even seen him. Robert M. Price has, like I said, he was featured on MythVision quite often because he was one of two kind of prominent biblical or Jesus mythicists. There was him and there was Richard Carrier. Robert, it's hard to know which one was better published because the way they were published is a little bit tricky. Robert Price is a pretty prolific writer. But what ended up happening was that after a while, people started discovering that Robert M. Price was also an H.P. Lovecraft fanboy, to an extent where he would write H.P. Lovecraft fan fiction in a way that seemed like maybe the reason he was doing that was not to correct some of the problematic aspects of H.P. Lovecraft's writing, racism, but to indulge in it. To the extent that he was published in an anthology, I think, Flashing Swords, number 6 or something like that. And I can't remember if he wrote the foreword for it and had a story in it or just wrote the foreword for it. But essentially his foreword was this long rant about, it was kind of misogynistic and homophobic. And he just ranted about a lot of right-wing issues to the extent that more than one author, it featured in the anthology, apologized to their fans and readers and asked them not to buy the book. And then wanted to be, I think the publisher even pulled it. That is Robert M. Price's activity in his sort of fan fiction mode. He's not apologetic about the fact that he likes H.P. Lovecraft. If you watch the Doug, his interview with Doug on Pine Creek from a couple of years ago, he acts like, oh yeah, sure, I can acknowledge that H.P. Lovecraft had problematic views, but I love his cosmic horror stuff. According to people who have read the stuff that he has tried to contribute into the fan fiction for cosmic horror in the vein of H.P. Lovecraft, he's not doing it any justice. Then on top of that, he's done things like said, the Washington Redskins should not be renamed the Challengers, they should be renamed the Savages. His defense for that, he was joking. He called Trayvon Martin Trayvon Martyr. He called Michael Brown, who was shot after the mom was stood up and was, asking questions and making allegations against law enforcement there over the controversial circumstances surrounding Michael Brown's shooting death. He was calling him a worthless thug, as if he had all the information he needed. He also has advocated for the, according to people that I've heard, and according to him, according to the Pine Creek video, he says something about advocating for the execution of protesters, specifically like Black Lives Matter protesters. So not a huge fan of the First Amendment either, Bob. That's some of it. Let's keep going.
Working with my hands. I also would join different Christian denominations and eventually went to college for 2 years about Carolina College of Biblical Studies because I believed I might be called to become a pastor. I then relapsed due to drug addiction and would struggle many years on and off of drugs. I found myself almost die several times in 2015 from heroin addiction, and I knew I needed help. My father once said, "Son, you want to change the world? If you do, you only have to change one thing. You have to change everything." And while I look...
It's an incredibly confusing way to put it. Not to browbeat his dad here, but I mean, we've all heard man in the mirror, or at least we should have. If you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and then make a change, right? That's a simpler way to put it. Not, if you want to change the world, you don't have to change all the stuff. You just have to change one thing. All the stuff. That's, Dad, step into my office.
Shocked at the impossible task of changing everything, Dad would add, "If you change yourself, you change everything." It was these little cliche moments that added up into making me really find myself, or a way to change myself, and finding me for me. My mother always wanted to make it clear that she loved me, even after all the terrible behaviors I expressed during my addiction days. My wife's undying love that held on to me when I couldn't even hold on to me. I didn't have a grip on life. I was hopeless, felt like dying until I detoxed at a person's house in recovery, started attending meetings with other like-minded people who struggled with the same disease of addiction.
They're not necessarily like-minded people. They're other people that are addicts. You're in that 10% category of people that have problems with substance abuse. Like, okay. Again, this is a lot of roads to walk just to get to where we're trying to get to. Like he's even mentioned that his dad was a veteran, which always feels a little bit like somebody's trying to like, hey, be careful. I'm related to somebody who was willing to die for this country, so you watch your mouth. One thing is everything, and everything is one thing. Get it?
Over the next few years, my beliefs started to change and got bigger than the Bible. I found comparative mythology helped me read the Bible differently, and I truly felt a burden begin to lift when I no longer believed hell was a literal place, but a myth. When I personally didn't believe in the doctrine of the flesh being wicked, and even when I started questioning other stories, if they've ever happened at all.
I just realized something right there. Right? Isn't that the Crystal Skull vodka from Dan Aykroyd's distillery? I'm just wondering.
At this point, I'm 27 years old. I'm 37 today, and I'm working for a construction called HBC. As the usual extreme person that I am, I really excelled at my craft and worked up to becoming a supervisor. This job was a traveling career where I was away from my wife and...
To speed. Let's see.
...kids for sometimes 2 weeks at a time, and only got a few days with them before I could go back on the road. During my days out in some country field in North Carolina, South Carolina, or Georgia, I would listen to countless podcasts with Bluetooth in one ear and many crew members, if you will, that I'm managing dozens of men in the other. They were running heavy equipment for me. This is where I found Dr.
This part's pretty good. I do want to play this one at normal speed. Well, roughly normal speed. See, he's working on construction crews. He's no longer on the smack.
Robert M. Price, the Wizard of the Bible.
Wizard of the Bible.
Guy and be mesmerized by the insights I was hearing. I literally have never heard 95% of the material he would say.
Cool. If you are a Christian and you came up, and I've talked about this multiple times. If you are you are a fundamentalist Christian and you've been involved in churches for a long time, and you start hearing stuff from anybody that's been associated, even with a halfway reputable seminary, where they start actually dispensing the information they got from seminary, it will literally curdle your brain. If you're a fundamentalist Christian, it will really throw you for a loop. And they don't have to be an atheist. They're another Christian, but they're telling you like, no, actually, this is what scholars know about what was written in the Bible, why it was written, to what, to whom it was written, what we know and don't know about the authors, etc., etc. This will really freak you out. And he's saying, oh, I just found this out from the Wizard of the Bible, Dr. Robert M. Price, the Gandalf of the Gideons. He showed me the way. 95% of the stuff I'd never heard before. Of course you didn't. You were a fundamentalist evangelical from North Carolina. You wouldn't have known any of this. I was coming up as a conservative Christian, as a Nazarene. I didn't know any of this stuff then. I mean, I started to deconvert and become an atheist before I became aware of a lot of this stuff, but I started learning more of it as I got into this YouTube community. So, Christopher, I'm an extreme person. Yeah, I find that odd that somebody would say they're an extreme person. Like I don't get that. Let's see. Derek left a call, and now people want to drag him into another one. Good for him for standing up to them. Nobody dragged him into a cult. The thing that's happening right now is that he canceled Robert M. Price 2 years ago, and now he's reversed course on that, and he's acting like this just happened yesterday. This happened 2 years ago. Supposedly, he was done. He had videos where he did like 2 months worth of content where he was crying over this decision, fraught, worrying, distraught, struggling with the right decision to make, talking to people from both sides about it. He even went on Pine Creek's channel and talked about it, justifying the decision that he made. And now all of a sudden, here we are. I thought Derek had a photo of Jefferson in the background. No, nobody wants a photo of that.
I found his Bible Geek podcast. I discovered Miguel Connor's Aeon Bite Gnostic Radio, and would listen to him, Acharya S., which is known as Dia Murdoch. I listened to various people in this arena, and soon I would even begin to question whether Jesus really ever lived on Earth at all.
Meet Avocado's best-selling green mattress.
Nobody wants your mattresses right now.
Made with certified
I reached out. I started another construction job, which had less traveling, but not as much.
Good Lord.
5 minutes from where Dr. Robert M. Price lives to this day. And I wondered if I could do this full time. I'm extreme, and I know if I put my mind to something, I can really move mountains.
This is the second time he said that he's extreme, and if he puts his mind to it, he can move mountains. The only way mountains can be moved is with the faith of a mustard seed.
So I put all my eggs into MythVision and worked my ass off. We also relocated back to Fayetteville, North Carolina, where my wife and I were raised. Just 45 minutes from where Dr. Robert M. Price lives to this day.
Crusty North Carolina racist lives in North Carolina. Check. I don't dislike Bob or Derek, but let's get real here. Derek is gaslighting the entire YouTube fan base that doesn't kiss his ass. It kind of seems that way. Yeah, I don't dislike Derek either. I'm not a huge fan of his show, but again, like I said, I kind of admire the people that he's got down here. But I forgot I was listening to Spatchcock, and the commentary over the commercial was awesome. Sorry. That's going to continue to happen. If the ads keep coming in, it's going to get snarkier.
We really hit it off, and I learned more in my life than I ever have before. He literally helped me learn on how to think, not what to think. This is why I loved Bob, and I still do. He would...
Okay, so this is now he's saying that he's got a great deal of affection for this guy. This guy helped him learn. He taught him how to think, not just what to think. Okay, so I got a few thoughts about this. One of the things that I have a problem with, some of the first critical things that I ever heard about biblical scholarship and takes on theology, pointing out contradictions, came from Christopher Hitchens back during the rise of the whole, the Four Horsemen, right? And from Sam Harris. I do not agree with either of those men on a lot of stuff. With Hitchens, he's passed on now, probably about 90% of the stuff that he talked about. I mean, there's slivers of politics where he and I would agree. He agreed with reparations. I'm for that. He may not have had great reasons for it. But, I heard different things about the Bible and different contradictions that he pointed out about people's theological takes and what they were gleaning from the scripture from him. Sam Harris as well. But because I heard that, I did not imprint on them and then project onto them some kind of mommy or daddy energy. And it really kind of feels like, to me, with all due respect, I'm not trying to do this to slam Derek. It sort of feels like he has. It seems like there's some transference here where he's sort of like, well, because Bob was the voice that was telling me all these thought-provoking, groundbreaking things, it's from him I can trust. And that's not necessarily the case. And I don't know if maybe he hasn't really gotten over that. So
He'd share hundreds of ideas with me that he held pertaining to the Bible, and I would discard some and consider others. The man is truly a living encyclopedia. I also started building.
So is Quentin Tarantino, but I mean, he's also a foot fetishist. So I mean, you gain some, lose some, right? I mean, no kink shaming. Apologies to all foot fetishists out there.
Building relationships with many other scholars along the way, as my interviews on MythVision reflect. You just go look. Some of these scholars are Christians and others are not. If they had great insights, it didn't matter. I wanted to hear them. I didn't care to only listen to atheists. Now let's cut to the chase. Around March of 2022, a serious situation happened with Dr. Robert M. Price and myself. A group of individuals.
To cut to the chase, we are now damn near 10 minutes in, so we've cut to the chase. All right. Let's see what happens here.
One might call them a mob, literally, attacked Dr. Robert M. Price on Twitter.
One might call them a mob, literally. But would one call them a mob actually, Derek? I doubt it, especially since it's virtual.
And Bob saw the exchange. He was on Twitter. He could see every comment. These individuals had found that Bob had written articles and comments about various topics not related to Bible years before I had even met him. I didn't realize what kind of group of individuals these were, and I want to warn you that if people ever...
What kinds of individuals were these in this group? Well, like, was it a group, or was it just certain individuals? Were they outliers? Or was the group an outlier? Was the...
do something like this to you, this may prove helpful wisdom in a case you find yourself in a similar situation like this. These individuals were all white people. Some were from the trans community, and others I wasn't so sure. But one thing was for sure. They came for blood. They were extremely toxic, aggressive, and derogatory. A girl named...
They came for blood, literally or actually, Derek? Come on now.
Jessica, Heathen Queen, Chrissy Hansen, a girl named Karaya, I believe, and others, many others. They ganged up on me, attacking me for having a racist, transphobic bigot on my platform. You see, I was unaware of the complexity of things politically and socially in this neck of the woods. When you start entering the atheist world, you find out a lot more that you didn't know about how people are.
What do you find out more about the atheist world that what you would find out from any other part of the world, other than the fact that amongst atheists, you will find people of lots of different political stripes? You can't, the thing that I find interesting about dealing with atheists is that you can't really totally know what they're up to. You don't really know what their ethics are, what their morals are, or what their, as many presuppositionalists would say, what's their worldview? They don't have a united worldview. They could be like Doug from Pine Creek. They could be like Maya Atkinson, who's quite a bit more interested in social issues and stuff. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Maya isn't an atheist. So, oh my God, what do we do? Oh, I'm so confused. This nonsense about trying to figure out where someone goes and where they don't and all this other kind of stuff. And like, well, this is the group that I ran into, and I can't believe I didn't get out of that room sooner. Like, this wasn't a group of corner thugs standing around all with the same haircut and the same leather jacket. For Christ's sake, that's not how this shit worked. You didn't back into the wrong corner and start smoking cigarettes with the wrong, well, I thought they were cool. I didn't realize that they were robbing banks and some shit. Like, no, that's not what happened. So, yeah, let's, already I feel like Derek is really trying to, like, pump the volume up here, pump the drama up to a level much higher than it's supposed to be.
People in this orbit online hold certain ideas that I wasn't familiar with, and honestly, in some cases, still don't buy into. Here I was getting literally coerced into removing Bob or being canceled. I fought back the best I could with these people, but they...
I don't think anybody said you are going to be canceled. This wasn't the issue. The issue was that certain people were going to refuse to watch your channel, refuse to follow and subscribe, and others who had participated in your content were going to refuse to join. Two of them I know for a fact were Dr. Josh Bowen and his wife Megan. So I'm kind of wondering exactly how this is going to hit them. Because, like, okay, how do you deal with that? They're not canceling you. They're canceling themselves from you, which they have every right to do.
They literally do not stop. In their minds, they are the pure ones and everyone else is wicked. I personally didn't agree with their interpretation.
This had nothing to do with purity tests either. Had absolutely nothing to do with that. There are plenty of people in this community, whether they're atheist, pantheist, deist, theist, whatever. They might be left-wing or right-wing. They might have been formerly very authoritarian in their right-wing views. They recognize that Dr. Bob is spewing right-wing horseshit nonsense, almost verbatim from Tucker Carlson's crap. Almost verbatim. In fact, I think if you look up Tucker Carlson's most controversial talking points, you will see the list that Dr. Price is cribbing from. And then you can go a little bit further as Dr. Price tries to find ways to instill that stuff into his fiction, his fan fiction. Needless to say, that's on Price, not on the people that are watching it. And if Derek is putting a guy like that on there, people have the right to kind of like, okay, you have a person on here that you call the Wizard of the Bible. You believe that he has an encyclopedic knowledge of the Bible, and 95% of the stuff that you heard from him when you first were made aware of him blew your effing mind. Cool. Now, let's deal with the fact that he thinks that while he simultaneously says out of one side of his mouth, he doesn't have a problem with African Americans, but he would like to see BLM protesters executed by law enforcement in the street. Can you explain to me how that person is not balls deep insane? And then try to figure, okay, like, are his views problematic? Yes. I'm here, let's say I'm Derek Lambert, trying to preserve the rights of Dr. Robert M. Price to speak his mind. Dr. Robert M. Price, would you like to say something about the current BLM protests going on? This would have been back circa 2020, 2021. Oh, yeah, I think those people should be killed for speaking up and saying the things they're saying. Oh, shit. You see a little problem there? Dr. Robert M. Price doesn't, like Doug from Pine Creek, does not understand the paradox of tolerance. This is a problematic thing. You got a guy on here like, well, let's pay attention to what he has to say. Let's think about his rights. While he voices a bunch of opinions about talking about how you can completely disregard the rights of sweeping portions of the population because they make Dr. Price feel icky or inconvenienced or irritable. That's fucked up.
Of Bob with their dehumanizing labels like racist, bigot, transphobe, etc.
Those are not dehumanizing labels, okay? And also, for the most part, they are also not accusations. Let's keep this straight. This is an important point that right-wingers need to make, and somebody like Derek, who I think is edging right-wing. I think that's what this is. It's a big old MAGA flag signaling a right turn. Observation is not accusation. I can accuse people of being something, but I haven't seen them do it, or heard them do it, or whatever. If I watch you verbally abuse a child of a different skin color and use racial epithets towards them, and then say, you're a racist, or you're a bigot, I didn't accuse you of it. I watched you do it. And this happens way too much. How dare you accuse Robert M. Price of being a racist? Because I saw racism. How dare you accuse him of being a bigot? Where do your accusations come from? Observation. I watched him say and do bigoted shit. How did you know he was a transphobe? Because he's a transphobe. He said transphobic shit. I heard him say it. I watched him say it. I processed what he said. I observed it. I'm not accusing him of being a transphobe. I saw him do it. I observed that shit. Right-wingers need to get this shit straight. How dare you accuse me? How dare I trust my lying eyes? A man that says he cares about black people and cares about rights also believes that some of those people who look a certain way and are exercising their rights should be executed by law enforcement in the street. I just heard you say something deeply contradictory, problematic, bigoted. That's an observation. I don't have to accuse you of being a bigot. I saw you do it.
I made a video. I made it clear that my channel wasn't going to buckle to this pressure and that we didn't have Bob on to talk about his politics. You see,
Derek is a conservative. So also not a critical thinker. Why is dysgenic bad? Yeah, exactly.
My goal isn't to defend Bob's political views. Rather, it's to show that Bob is a master on Bible, and most people in the world know how to compartmentalize the two. Another important fact is that Bob doesn't...
Compartmentalizing the Bible in terms of scholarship is one thing, all right? But if you have people on here, this is very dishonest. I have watched Derek's channel, his show, enough to know that his content is about bringing on a scholar and having them say something from a scholarly perspective. What can we infer from that? And then Derek will use his imagination and go into all sorts of different characters. Well, what could that mean for this theology? What could it mean for that concept? What could we infer from this? Why bother doing that if we're supposed to keep that separate from the other things that we would then extend it out towards? Oh, you just need to keep the Bible stuff separate from his politics. That's great advice, Derek. Do you know who can't do that? Christian fundamentalists and Christian nationalists. They specifically do not want to do that. And if you tell them that they have to, they will call you the Antichrist. This is completely infuriating shit. They are absolutely approaching this from a position where this informs their ethics and morality and then proceed as such. If you're talking to somebody like a Dr. Josh Bowen or Dr. Kip Davis about some nuanced thing about this is how this is translated or this is how it compares to Akkadian and Sumerian or whatever, yes, you can separate that from something like, say, the BLM protests or the anti Gaza genocide protests or any of these other kinds of things. Those are probably quite separate. But there are plenty of times when this research is used to attempt to communicate to believers and non-believers how they should think about these works of writing and how they should extend that knowledge out and how they should incorporate that into their existing ethics, morals, and worldview. So this is deeply dishonest. If not dishonest, then I don't think he's understanding the point of the scope of his show. His own show is to help broaden people's minds on these issues by allowing that knowledge to come in, do its business, and then change a mind, change a perspective, change that outlook.
Doesn't talk about his politics on MythVision. So I didn't understand why these people were trying to destroy Bob and me.
They weren't trying to destroy you, and they told you that. This is also deeply dishonest because 2 years ago, people were telling him that. Derek, we like you. We like your channel. Bob's a problem. Those were the three main points they were making. Not, hey, Derek, who's this Bob? Get wrecked. No warning, no lube. Here it comes. Like, that's not how it happened. Now, all of a sudden, he's trying to say, well, they came out of nowhere, and they just came after me and my wife. At mvpcourses.com. Wink, nudge, TM. Like, no, that's not what fucking happened then. People talked to him behind the scenes. They talked to him on the screen. He made content video after content video for at least a couple of months, agonizing over this decision of whether or not he was going to deplatform Robert Price or if he was going to keep him on, and if he was going to keep him on, in what capacity could possibly satisfy his friendship with Dr. Price and the ethics and morals of his viewers. He's completely disregarding everything that just happened. That doesn't just cheapen the input of the audience members that cared about him, cared about his show, and cared about his output, but that cheapens him. This is just flat out I don't care what happens after this or what happened before this. In this moment, for these 51 minutes, this is straight up 180%, for whatever that means, grift. This is grift. This is just, oh my God, they came after me and they did this. I'm surprised he doesn't have a fucking GoFundMe for this at this point. This is deeply sad and deeply wrongheaded. And again, I don't know Derek. This is the first time I paid this close attention to any of his content in a very long time. And this does not work. He's also ignoring the scores of scholars who told him that Bob's politics constantly creep into his work. Yes. in Maya's video, Dr. Kip Davis says the same thing. Other people mentions that. Chrissy mentions the same thing. Chrissy Hansen mentions the exact same thing. People are like, this stuff is informing his view on his research. It's informing the way he does this kind of stuff. In one case, something that Chrissy shares in one of the videos, he's trying to do an illustration of something that has to do with like ancient Near Eastern slavery or something like that. And he decides to mimic kind of problematic speech pattern to make it a little bit more theatrical. I guess his views do come into play when it comes to his scholarship and writing. That stuff doesn't play well. Also, the fact that he started his own literary journal without a team of people and without a board of advisors, so it was less journal, more blog. But I guess we're supposed to take it seriously when he publishes there, given that he's the one responsible for anything getting published there.
This is where the rubber hits the road. After my video expressing that we are not deplatforming Bob, I was literally coerced into a few decisions. I was approached by Dr. Joshua Bowen and Megan Lewis that they would have to disassociate from me, have nothing to do with me if I didn't remove Bob. I was also threatened by others that they would email academics.
No, so I just want to say this. I know Dr. Josh Bowen and Megan personally. They have been nice enough to come on my show. Well, Megan once. I don't think she likes the gist of my show. She absolutely has a point. She doesn't have time for my nonsense. Dr. Josh has been a friend, a buddy, ever since he was on Scholar Fiction. We have always gotten along, and he's been very generous with his time. If those two people, two of the nicest, most generous people that I have met in the online community, tell you, this is tricky for us. We like your channel. We like you. But we don't want to be on a channel where this guy is on. If I was doing something on my channel and I heard from Megan or Dr. Josh, hey, Jeff, you did something that we think is problematic. We did something that we think you need to reflect on. You better believe I would take that. That would send, that would send chills up my spine because I would know that I had stepped in it. Those people are very kind and very forgiving about some of my shenanigans in the past. So I would know that that was deeply problematic. The worst thing that you could get would be to get the old heave-ho from Megan. You know, like, no, fuck that. Well, I'm not talking to you anymore. I ain't got time for your shit. You're cut off. If you get that, you know you've done fucked up. It's over. Maya says, Josh will put up with anything. That's kind of true. Yeah, I mean, put up on my channel. So my channel was entirely built on trolling trolls. I mean, which is why Megan, not a fan. She doesn't want to do that stuff. She wants to have Bart Ehrman on and have, you know, Francesca Stavrakopoulos and do the scholarship stuff because she's got class and has a goal and ambition stuff. She's not out here to, you know, fuck around. Josh likes to play around a little bit. Josh is quite funny that way. But I've never heard this from either one of them, even if they've had complaints. It's never risen to this level. We can't be on your show because of what you did or because who else you have on. And I would be deeply concerned if that was something they had to say. If I reached out to Dr. Josh or to Megan or to both and said, I'd like you to come on, and they were like, no, we can't have you on because this is a regular guest of yours. This person is a regular guest. Yeah, I would be mortified. And from what I understand, Derek's reaction a couple of years ago after hearing from people like Dr. Bowen and Megan was mine. He shared that. And now he's like, oh, well, what happened was you grifters put me in a position where you made me look bad in front of Dr. Josh and Megan. No. They found out about things that Robert M. Price was doing or saying, and they were uncomfortable with it and said that they wouldn't be on the show.
To pressure them not to join me on my platform and to keep distance because of Robert Price's right-wing conservative writings, which had nothing to do with MythVision anyways. What was Robert Price's sins? He spoke about the black community and its struggles, giving his right-wing antics, which I've heard all my life growing up in North Carolina.
Right-wing antics. Yeah, you probably... Okay, this is a great one. Now, you got to check out these side channels. I'll clear some things up for you right away if you catch my drift. I don't know what you mean by that. Fabio. By the way, I was right. This is totally a Steve McRae 2.0 thing. Deal with it. Fine. All right. I'll let you take the win, Fabio. You got me.
Carolina. To me, he was guilty of his experience and environment. Not that he had any hate or actual racism towards blacks, but that isn't accurate for this crowd of Puritans. No, they demand blood. I'm not exaggerating. Bob also wrote...
Saying that they demand blood is an exaggeration. They don't demand blood.
On trans men.
And it's not a they thing. Like, if the blood is like your career or your channel, yeah, there might be somebody around that's upset enough to like voice that. I don't know how serious they would be about it. You might actually inspire that level of vitriol from an opponent. But the vast majority of the people that I think of as they that have been critical about this entire situation from before were concerned about the effect that Robert M. Price's statements and his reputation would have on the MythVision channel. And they told Derek that. To say that what Derek was being confronted with them was an ultimatum, do this or we take your stuff, is deeply dishonest.
Materials and expressed to me that he doesn't think children should be subject to these transitioning experiments. Well, neither do I. This is transphobia to people in the trans community. What didn't make sense to me was that the person, Chrissy Hansen, who was behind boycotting and trying to destroy Bob, has also had friendly streams with Bob. And Bob has always complimented Chrissy as brilliant, a bright thinker. Bob welcomed everyone and loved all. I swear to God.
Unless they were a BLM protester.
If there is one, everyone who attacked Bob is guilty as sin. And I'm the biggest.
Attacked him for what? Nobody had to attack Dr. Bob. Everybody just had to be like, oh, he wrote that? He said that? That's gross. That's an attack? That's just a reaction.
Biggest sinner in all of this. But we will get there. So I saw an image of a black mother crying for her son, Mike Brown, who was shot and killed by police, where Bob said that her son was a thug criminal. This was unsettling for me because the mom was crying. And I could imagine my mom crying if I was shot and killed, even if it was during criminal activity. I have experience. Bob was accused of racism.
I can imagine my mom crying for me if I was shot during criminal activity. I think she'd be crying because she'd be punching me in the throat so much. How dare you? First of all, how dare you commit that crime? And secondly, how dare you be so stupid and incompetent that you got caught?
Racism, because he used the term thug with a black man in an image. I approached Bob about this and told him that they are saying you are a racist because of your use of this word. Bob immediately told me what the word meant to him and why he used it. My only response at that time was that it just seemed unempathetic and heartless to people, and that he should apologize so we can move forward. However, Bob said, hell no, I'm not bending the knee to the woke mob. I knew I was in trouble. I didn't agree with Bob's comment on this image, and he made a joke about Washington Redskins should be renamed the Savages. However, when I asked him, he literally told me I was joking. I guess comedy even gets canceled these days.
Make comedy legal again. Okay, bro, it's not comedy if you're punching down. That's rule number one in comedy. And number two, maybe don't be gross and stupid about it. That's not comedy. It's just mean. It's like that's like trying to get over, like trying to like the Skylar, whatever her name is, Skylar Hendricks, I think was her name or whatever, the woman that went on a complete diatribe against a 5-year-old black kid and called him the N-word, upbraiding this kid with racial epithets. And we're supposed to think, oh, well, what she was doing was, brave. If you talk to the right-wing people, she was bravely standing up for white people's First Amendment rights. Like, she lost her shit on a 5-year-old toddler and called him the N-word. She's a loon.
The best analogy that comes to mind is this. Imagine someone walks up to you, slaps you in your face, spits in your face, and then they demand that you apologize to them. And they still demand that to this day because you wrote words about things years ago which they find offensive.
The things that he wrote were the equivalent of spitting in someone's face. People didn't go up to Robert M. Price and spit in his face and say, how dare you? People found out that he was writing all this stuff, which some could say is the equivalent of being spat in the face. And their reaction was, oh my God, don't let that lunatic back on your channel.
Bob didn't want anything to do with this crowd. He saw them. He saw them on Twitter.
Yeah, he did. If he didn't want anything to do with that crowd, what's he doing watching inflammatory bunk material like Tucker Carlson? Of course he wanted stuff to do with that. He wants to be able to punch down on that crowd. He does want something to do with them.
Twitter. He saw their behavior. He saw how they attacked him. Derogatory, inflammatory, dehumanizing, labels.
Labels like what? He's a bigot? He is. He's a racist? Said racist shit. Yup, check. Homophobe? Check. Transphobe? Check. Misogynist? Check. Contradictory lunatic? Check. Washed up, no longer relevant scholar? Check. Those are just labels. Oh, you and your labels. Those are observations, man. You got a guy here talking about scholarship from what, late 80s, early 90s? Still? Sure, it's like curling your toes, but like for anybody else that's actually in the business, they're just like, oh, well, who gives a shit? Oh, but he's a mythicist and he's been published a few times? Okay, well, neat, but he's just that guy over there. He's that weirdo standing in the corner like, I'm pretty sure Jesus didn't exist. Now, like, it doesn't really fucking matter.
They were absolutely atrocious. And the way they attacked me was fucking bullshit.
How was Derek, for anybody that's watching this in the live chat, how was Derek attacked? Doug attacked him. Pine Creek absolutely attacked him. Pine Creek went after him. Pine Creek was like, don't you dare. I could see it in Pine Creek's face. He wanted to see if he would like kick him or provide Robert Price's space back. But Doug knew. Doug knew that Derek was going to go where the clicks were, where the views were. He couldn't afford to lose guests at that level, and he couldn't afford to lose views at that level or subscribers over Robert Price versus what? Having somebody on who's current? So that would be my question to Derek. With the exception of Doug from Pine Creek, who attacked you? What do you consider an attack? Did they say, if this person continues to be on your show, I'm no longer watching? That's not an attack. That's their opinion and their decision. Were they like Dr. Josh and Megan and said, you know what, as long as you continue to feature him on your show, we can't be a part of your show? Did Dr. Josh and Megan attack Derek? Is this his equivalency test? Is this how he categorizes being attacked? He's not being very clear here, and I don't really understand what Derek's like. This could have been really, really simplified very, very quickly. I don't know what his relationship is with Robert Price. You simply tell Robert when this happens, like, look, buddy, you and I are friends. We obviously don't agree on politics. But now that people know your politics and know your opinions about this, if I put you on my show, people think that you're fronting that. You can't get them to separate your politics from your opinions about these other things. Mostly because you went on Pine Creek and said that you believe Tucker Carlson is the best journalist that you can possibly find. That immediately calls into question your capacity for critical thinking. It just does. I'm sorry. It does. So once that happens, you're like, look, this doesn't have to be an end to our friendship. We can continue talking. But I can't have you on my show. My show is about getting scholars on to talk about their research. And now a lot of them are saying they won't come on if I let you on. This has nothing to do with me and you as friends. This has everything to do with this show and its capacity to frontline and present research from biblical scholars. As many as possible, as many as I can find. If Robert M. Price is your friend, he should understand that and be good with it. From what I understand, and this is weird, in the old video, and Maya had clips of this in the 4-hour show that they were on, he admits, Daryl says to Doug from Pine Creek that he paid Dr. Price to be on his show. Every time. He paid him to be on the show. Now, this is a man that he considers a good friend, a close friend, and a father figure. I'm not trying to like pat myself on the back here, But I've had people on my show regarding topics that punch way above my belt, way above my weight, talking about things, biblical slavery. I've had Dr. Josh on several times. One time, even Megan came on for a few minutes. She couldn't stay for very long, but she did me the charity of showing up. Deeply appreciate both their time. They did not have to do that. They never did. I never paid them for that. I didn't have to. They didn't ask. I should, in full disclosure, I am a patron, but a very low-paying one. Sorry, Dr. Josh and Megan. Aaron Ra was a guest on my show. One of the top watched shows that I ever did. He did not ask for payment. I did not offer. It wasn't a thing. And we were on there talking about, I believe we were talking about debunking young earth creationism. He did not have to volunteer his time to do that. His time is much more valuable for that. But he did it. But Dr. Price is one of Daryl's close friends and a father figure, a pivotal figure in Derek's life. And yet he paid him every time. This has been bouncing around in my head since this afternoon. I still haven't been able to wrap my head around it. Maya says, he would say that often. He's also been vocal about not paying other scholars and pressing the audience to buy their books so they didn't regret coming on. Yeah, and I would usually do that. I mean, but that just kind of went without saying. I would always, kind of flog, either Aaron Ra's next presentation or Dr. Josh's next book or, and his channel, that kind of thing. That I would gladly do. But I was a tiny channel, even compared to Digital Hammurabi. They're really slumming with me if they come on as a guest. I'm not going to reach that many people for them. It might get them, a subscriber or 5 tops. And if you're as big as Aaron Ra, then that's spit in the ocean. So yeah, it was weird.
And I would never treat any human in this world that way. I cannot tell you how intense this behavior was.
He's treating all of his audience members this way. Not even just the ones that have attacked him or accused him of this. He is now currently treating every viewer that watches his show. He's treating them all to this kind of behavior right now. The kind of behavior he's accusing his attackers of, he is now defending and projecting a defense out towards his entire viewing audience, and just like offering them an enormous amount of grievance stew here, which is precisely what he's accusing them of doing. Fascinating. Fabio says, on a serious note, I understand somebody giving space to a friend knowing that he is controversial, but at least embrace and live with it. Don't act like a whining little when you're called out. Exactly. And that's my problem. Like, this is much easier to deal with. Like, look, bro, I've got a channel, and my channel is to bring on these scholars. That's the point of my entire show. They're telling me they won't come on if I let you on. So I'm between a rock and a hard place. This has nothing to do with our friendship. This is about what the show can handle. That's it. And I don't know. To me, it sounds like Dr. Price was cutting Derek out of his life over this issue. And Derek is in a situation now where he can mend fences. Now he's really taken maybe more of a right-wing turn in this. Now he can really mend fences with him, and he can apologize. There was a point that was made in Maya's channel where they were like, what's going on here with him? This is kind of something that happens in the conservative political mind. Robert Price does not need to be the one to actually do anything to change. The person that accused him of doing something, or the person that sold him out, needs to make amends first to him and to other allies, go on the attack on his behalf against people that would that were critics of him, and then ingratiate him back in. This just sort of carries into a lot of kind of like the way right-wing stuff, carries out. And Derek's actually doing this for him. Wait a minute. Why do you charge me every time you're on my channel? This is bullshit. Not saying it's good or bad, just saying he's gotten better scholars cheaper. Yeah, I mean.
Not only to Bob, but to myself. Again, Bob didn't want anything to do with this crowd, and I don't blame him. Looking back.
And correct. Again, Derek, with all due respect, incorrect. Your buddy wants everything to do with that crowd. He's not watching, excuse me. He is not watching content like Tucker Carlson because he doesn't want anything to do with that crowd. That is specifically what he's interested in because he's being told that he needs to rise up against that group. That imaginary group of woke, inflamed, leftist, Maoist, beta cuck, libtard, crazy individuals, blah, 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 blah. Those are the people that he has to come after. He absolutely wants to deal with them. He's so interested in engaging with them that he would really like it if the state would authorize their execution while they're protesting in the street. His opinion, not mine. Don't say he was just a peaceful guy, just sitting over here. He didn't want anything to do with it. Really? Incorrect. Incorrect.
I should have followed his lead. You will see why shortly. Here's where things get very tricky, because those who side...
Incorrect. Dustin Taub. Paid Peter for every appearance. No. I do owe Peter, though, for quite a bit.
...with Bob in all of this just think I buckled under pressure and have zero backbone. And now those on the left now think I just deplatformed Bob because I was forced to make...
Wait, is that why he's doing this? He feels like he looks spineless amongst right-wingers, so now he's going to 180 on this and try to reverse the narrative?
...the right decision. By the way, those are the exact words they used. A trans person in the community literally said, they forced me to make the right decision. Forced. I was so compelled. Here's the truth. Here's the truth. I was so compelled by this group and its demands originally, and their threats to destroying what I built, that all I could think of was my family or Bob. When I asked Bob to apologize because I was letting the crowd dictate what I was going to do, when I should honestly have blocked them and walked away. Advice for future wisdom for you. And Bob said no.
Block all of them? Block everybody that had a problem with the person that you had on there. Okay.
It was like my mind started to think they were right about him and all their accusations. Little did I consider at the time what I would have done if I saw people dehumanizing me. In fact, you will see their vomit on the web after this video because...
Nobody's doing that. I mean, can you even do that on OnlyFans? Maybe paid. To be fair, the only reason Josh and Megan give me the time of day is because I keep them full of Canadian candy and maple syrup. Speaking of which, Michael, I need to talk to you about that. My sister was just in Canada yesterday, and she brought back a ton of cookies and chips. And those chips are delicious.
Because of this video, I suffered from what is called cognitive dissonance.
You still are suffering from it, bro. I'm suffering from this new thing that I found. I just discovered this. Cognitive dissonance. The more you know. Go on. Okay, what was the cognitive dissonance? Let's let him continue.
Cognitive dissonance is a psychological state of discomfort experienced when an individual holds conflicting beliefs, values, and behaviors.
Yeah, like when you think that you need to do something about the destiny of your eternal soul, but you wrestle with the idea that the only way that your soul can really be saved is by the inner working of the Holy Spirit. Go ahead. That's a great example of cognitive dissonance amongst Christians.
This discomfort motivates them to reduce the dissonance by changing their beliefs, behaviors, or perceptions of the situation.
So the person that you had wasn't a racist or a bigot. You were being attacked by a woke mob who had collectively lost their minds and forced you into doing something that you really didn't want to do. The guy who was your friend was never really that bad to begin with, or at least the things that he was putting out there weren't really that bad in retrospect. Kind of sounds like you are suffering from the textbook definition of cognitive dissonance, which you are in fact describing.
Let me break this down. I know Bob personally over many, many years. My firsthand experience with Bob literally showed me the amazing human being he really is, and that he...
Sure. I mean, bigots can be lots of fun.
He is not a racist. The dissonance happened in my brain when people took his words...
This is like saying, well, you know what? Dave Chappelle is really funny. He's just a hilarious dude. I can't believe that he's a transphobe. You know what? He can be both.
And labeled those words on him and attacked him with many derogatory ways and threatened me that I will do something about this or else. I will remove him or else. So this pressure and the fact that I didn't agree with Bob in his statements made it obvious that he...
Is this how all content creators end up? I'm waiting to see how Jefferson Spatchcock is going to end up in flames. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm hoping it's going to be a little bit like The Weeknd's newest movie, you know, but I don't think I'm ever going to have that much money. So it'll be a lower rent version of that, probably featuring a burned out, cockroach infested motel in Arkansas.
He must be what all these people accuse him of. Bob recommended that he just walk away from MythVision. And I was just agreeing with him on the phone. But because I let these people in my head and allowed their threats to get to me and Bob wouldn't apologize, I felt betrayed. All I wanted was Bob to apologize. But to who? To the angry.
He owed the apology to you, Derek. He owed it to you and to all the people that he offended. But first and foremost, to you. You had him on your show. You platformed him. People found out he's gross. People wanted to know, hey, bro, what about this dude's opinions? You start catching flack for that. You challenge him with it like, dude, what is this stuff? He probably owes you at least just a small apology. Yeah, I can be a rascal on those blog posts. Sorry. At least that much? Did you get that much out of Robert? I bet you didn't. I bet instead he was like, how dare, I'll never bend the knee to the woke mob. Thanks to Tucker Carlson, I now have the stiffest spine in the right-wing world. Like, Derek, I don't know what you're doing here, man. I don't know what you're doing. I have a feeling, Dr. Bob, you're letting him influence your politics like you got enamored with, the first time he spouted off some scholarly info, and now you're just following the racist mama bird straight back home. Or Papa Bird, but that doesn't make sense. There's no such thing as Papa Bird, is there? I don't know. I don't know much about birds.
Mob who screams, crucify this piece of shit.
Well, I like the way he says, crucify this piece of shit. That was good.
It's extremely difficult to explain all that went on and how my mind went this way. I'm trying my best. Here I was thinking, I'm doing so much good helping people see the Bible for what it is, a great ancient piece of human literature, and helping people leave toxic forms of religion to enjoy the Bible again with my good friend Bob.
My good friend Bob. They leave toxic forms of religion to join other toxic forms of politics, like right-wing nutcase H.P. Lovecraft fanfictions posts, for which they are too extreme.
Then all of this ends practically overnight. I had just made my Matrix intro with me and
all of it ends over. I thought it ended when he decided that he wasn't going to have him on.
Bob playing Neo and Morpheus, which you see in my outros all the time. This man, Robert Price, was more than just a friend, ladies and gentlemen. He was one of my best friends. Literally. I made a video crying.
That you had to pay to have on? Did you have to pay him to appear in your Matrix video? Or was that all AI?
And people mocked and laughed at. I wish this shit on no one.
Derek called it the Crybaby video. I never watched the whole thing, but a friend of mine, he pointed it out to me. He's like, have you seen Derek's new video? He's talking about this Robert Price stuff. And I was like, no, what's going on? And he's like, well, he's weeping pretty hard during the whole thing. I'm like, oh, no, Derek, no. Never lower your eyes to the enemy and never shed tears on the internet.
I made another video highlighting my own disagreements with Bob over comments on his interview with Pine Creek, and it was clear. Due to the pressure of the comments wanting an answer, they want to know why he's not coming on the channel. I felt trapped. I felt like I needed to express some of my disagreements with some of the, what I would say, disgusting things I saw in the interview myself. At this point, I chose a side, and my friend Bob was crucified. You see, How was he crucified?
Dude, you were the one that chose not to have him on the channel. Nobody can force you to do that. The end of this is, if you continue to have him on, I'm not watching. That's it. That's the choice. If you don't want me as a viewer, keep having him on. Going to keep doing that, I'm going to walk away. I'm not going to subscribe. Derek could have taken that choice. He could have been like, all right, you know what? I'll take the hit. I'll lose the X percentage of viewers that have a real problem with Robert M. Price on here. We'll go from there. I'm starting to get the feeling, and I hope this isn't being too conspiratorial, that the point of this is to kind of soften people up so that he can then direct them to go see Robert M. Price featured on his one of two new politics channels where Robert M. Price talks about the First Amendment and why it's so important, but not for certain people.
Is Bob's Peter, who promised to go with him to the end, even unto death. And my mind changed, and I started believing the high priest of this cult, Caiaphas. Over the next...
He believed he was Peter to Bob Price's Jesus? Why would you refer to your friend as a Messiah figure?
Next few years, the cock crowed thrice, and I'm back where it all began. Happy birthday, Derek.
Yeah, good for you, Derek. You betrayed the Christ. Wait, you... Let me see. You no longer platforming Robert M. Price was the equivalent of of denying his that you knew him, and what? Why are we talking about Bob's Peter? What did he do to Derek? An excellent question, Leo. I caught that too. No, that's not a conspiracy theory. That's good marketing. Yeah, but this is just, oh my God.
Here's the thing. I have had people on my channel, including Chrissy Hansen, who is literally a Marxist anti-capitalist for their Bible ideas.
What does a Marxist anti-capitalist have to do with her Bible ideas? If we're supposed to take this seriously, Robert M. Price should be allowed, without criticism or any kind of comment, onto Derek's, unquestioningly allowed back onto. We shouldn't have a problem with this. Derek can let Robert M. Price on here because it doesn't matter what Robert M. Price's politics are. Those are separate from his biblical scholarship. But Chrissy Hansen is a left-wing anti-capitalist. Right?
I'm fairly certain Chrissy has written about their views elsewhere. I'm a capitalist and proud to be an American. I'm the son of...
Okay, being a capitalist and being an American are not necessarily the same thing, Derek. I don't think he knows that.
I'm a Green Beret and proud of it.
Son of a Green Beret. And I've got three, four family members that served. I also once upon a time took a snowball to the face to defend somebody throwing it at a dog. Does any of this have to do with anything? What the fuck?
This never stopped me from learning from them, but this cult doesn't afford others to do the same. Bob does. Over the years, due to this debacle, from where I'm sitting, Bob had no one in his corner. He truly was in Sheol. Actually, he was in a place more like Tartarus and Hades because he...
No, he did have people in his corner. He was actually, from what I understand, he was corresponding with people who were kind of like-minded, some kind of like white supremacist or white supremacist adjacent thinkers and stuff like that. Getting up to some shenanigans. I'm sure he was on like Rumble and stuff like that. Like, he didn't have anybody in his corner. Dr. Price is in a tough position as a right-winger because he's not also a Christian nationalist. That puts him in a tough spot. He's not going to be able to go over to Fox News, Newsmax, Rumble, or any of these other kinds of places, denounce the existence, doubt the actual existence of Jesus Christ, and then talk about how MAGA he is at the same time. They're not going to let him. He's going to fail the purity test over there. If Derek is so concerned about the fact that these people over here are being too pure, their ideological rigidity is keeping Robert M. Price off my channel. The reason nobody's in Robert M. Price's corner over in that neck of the woods is because he's a fucking atheist, Derek. He's a conservative, fascist atheist. And if you want to be in the gang, you need to be a conservative, fascist Christian. Maybe other religions help too, but Christian is the number one. That's the way that you're going to get in there without anyone raising an eyebrow. Ideological purity. Yeah, imagine what it's like for him in those corners. Derek's not going to know that because I doubt he even goes there. And if he is going there, if he does know better, then he knows better. And then he's just fucking lying.
He had become the scapegoat racist to the left. To others, he was no racist, but speaking their typical political lingo. You see, I'm not very politically active. However, I think one of the major reasons the left lost during this recent Trump versus Kamala scenario is that people are not okay with this type of cancel culture. Also, before I hear any nonsense in the chat that I voted for Trump or Kamala, I didn't vote at all. I honestly don't know what is best in the world of politics.
Okay, one of the easiest layup decisions that you can make, United States politics is not that complicated. Digital Gnosis is here. Good to see you, Nate. Let me put this out there and he can maybe, I don't mean to speak for him, but he is from the UK. Our politics is not that complicated. And usually when it comes down to voting at a national election for the president, you are literally always voting for the lesser of two evils. It's just that simple. He couldn't be bothered to do that, but he could be asked to do 2 politics channels. I want to repeat that. This man sat out the previous election last November. This is not ancient history. Couldn't determine which one I should vote for. Harris, Trump. I just don't know. And has since launched not 1, but 2 politics content YouTube channels. I hope to be featured on one someday.
I prefer not
As an object lesson in what not to do. Let me just put it that way.
to vote if I'm not educated on it. I also know that most people are not going to jump on board with the gender fluidity ideology. If you don't buy into this, you're an evil sinner and needs excommunication. Bob said he accepts everyone from everywhere, trans, blacks, you name it. He has always had black families at his house when I go over there, and he'd invite them over.
Had them over for what? Huh? Sure, he had them over there. I mean, what would happen if they expressed solidarity with Black Lives Matter protests? Would he have called them thugs and looters and kicked them out of his house? I'm just wondering. Asking for a friend.
Or break bread and record with them. What's wild about the purity of this cult mindset from this group is that none of this matters. Let me explain. Bob had black families he is friends with and close with that would come over and hang out. Now check this out. The fact that Bob literally has very close black friends and really bonds with them means nothing. This community will just spin it to say many black slaves befriended their masters, or they will point out the old saying, my sister dates a black guy, I can't be racist.
But you just said that by saying Dr. Price has some black people over at his house.
There's no way to prove someone isn't a racist.
Yes, there is. There absolutely is. What in pluperfect hell is Derek talking about? Yes, there fucking is a way to prove that somebody isn't racist, or at the very least isn't bigoted, because sometimes when you're talking about individuals, depending on who you're talking about, referring to an individual as racist can be a little bit problematic as opposed to saying that they're prejudiced or bigoted. You know, for the people that believe, racism is best left as a systemic descriptor.
And they have very close black friends, and they openly renounce the label racist, that they are one, that they hate racism, they hate...
I'm going to say this right now for Derek and for other white guys that suffer from this problem before I start making my main point, because I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to make it. You do not get to decide if you're an ally, right? That's one thing that I don't really think that you decide that you're woke, right? Especially if you are in the kind of cultural left or cultural liberal area in the United States political spectrum, right? As far as I'm concerned, woke is still part of African American vernacular, English. It should be kept that way, and it should mean what they meant it to mean, which means if I get called woke, it better not be me saying it about myself. Just like I should not call myself an ally, and I'm not comfortable doing that. If somebody refers to me as an ally, I might be flattered, I might be honored, I might even raise a finger and be like, yeah, I'm not that great. But that's different. It's up to that group to decide if I'm on their side. They can determine whether or not I'm meeting the criteria to be an actual ally for them. Maybe I'm just talking a good talk. Maybe I'm just, I just appear to be on their side, but I'm not. Woke is the same kind of thing. Are you really woke or are you not? Well, I like to say I am. Well, that's fucking stupid. Don't do that. This kind of stuff that he's talking about here, like, well, how would you know that you're racist? Well, you ask those groups if they think that you're racist. What I think a lot of this stuff boils down to, I'll take this break at this point to make my main point. The white guy blind side and blind spot in most of this stuff. White guys do not understand that there are significant portions of this community, and by community I mean the United States, that live in a dystopia. And I'm not talking about the kind of, gentle capitalist dystopia where your medicine costs quite a bit, or some first world problems. I'm talking about an actual dystopia. You are not welcome here, whether you're a person of color, whether you're a recent immigrant, regardless of the status. You're trying to negotiate an immigration system that is great, incredibly confusing, and on top of that, you add into the LGBTQ community, who are maligned frequently. Trans people now basically get to carry on the entire burden of what was previously the phantasm borne by gay people. Now, gay people kind of get a pass from right-wingers because they can't really land those accusations against them. They're trying. They desperately want to claw it back, especially by trying to connect gays and lesbians with trans at every possible opportunity. That's where the woke and left stuff comes in, because the more you can make them all kind of congeal into one group, an accusation about one is a declaration against all. And the problem with this is that now all these groups are facing these issues in a country and in a culture that is actively dystopian. If you read 1984, you read any good dystopian novel, watch any good dystopian science fiction film, you will see this shit play out. If you are a white dude, a white heterosexual dude, this stuff will pass you like a breeze. You won't even know what's happening unless you look around, unless you wake the fuck up and take a look at what's going on. The best way I can give this idea is from me. I spent quite a bit of time studying and visiting in Japan. And when I was there, I became deeply attuned to the ingrained racism and intolerances of Japanese people. Whenever I was around, or my friends were around, especially when people of color from other countries were around. This greatly changed the vibe in any kind of social situation, and I was very much attuned to that. I disliked it greatly. But the one thing that I had that my black friends did not is that when I came to the United States, that feeling stopped. When they came back to the United States, that feeling was home. That is a dystopia. Derek doesn't get that. Dr. Price doesn't get that. Because if they did, they would not talk about these groups, individuals within those groups, their challenges, their tragedies, and their encounters as flippantly or as dismissively or as contradictorily as the way they're talking about them now. Remember that this group of people, they are your neighbors. They are quintessentially American people, as much of a citizen as you are. And their reality is being made into a dystopia by the same people that are giving you benefits, that are cutting you a break and giving you a pass. And Derek is here asking us to give a privileged older white scholar a break for not understanding that the horrible, shitty rhetoric that he is using on people who experience our shared home as a dystopia, he wants us to give that dude a pass. Fuck no. No. That new dude, he needs to shut Fox News off. He needs to put down the fan fiction, pull his pants up, dust the library book off, and go read some books, actual books on this stuff. He's not too old. He can do it. He's a smart dude. He got a PhD, and he ain't dead yet. Put that brain to work, take some deep breaths, work on that plasticity, and read some shit from perspectives that you haven't thought of before. Stop watching Tucker Carlson. Well, now you can't watch Tucker Carlson unless he's on X, I think. But stop watching that bullshit. To Robert Price, if you're watching. Anyway.
Slavery, their uncle was killed by the Ku Klux Klan, and they tell you that they aren't what you keep fucking accusing them of. Why don't you befriend this kind old man and actually get to know him and work with him to find out? It's because none of you actually care.
You only missed the best part of the show, Mouty. No, it's okay. You're fine. Of course, you were a gaijin. Yeah, I was a gaijin. And that is a difficult thing to wrap your head around when you're trying to like figure out like, hey, how do I ingratiate myself with this community? How do I make sure that I'm not offending these people? How do I make sure that I say and do the right thing? You can't. You're wrong because you're there, because of how you exist. And a lot of racists in the United States feel the same way about lots of other people in this community. And by community, I mean citizens of the United States, because we're not a community.
If you did, you would make an effort to try. But Bob doesn't matter to you. He does to me.
Bob needs to try. People asked him to try. Derek asked him to try. Derek asked him to apologize. Price said, no, I won't bend the knee to the woke mob. Cut him off. I'm sorry. That dude's a savage. He's a barbarian. If you can't engage with your fellow citizens, with your neighbors, the basic give and take that civilization is based on, you're a barbarian. I don't want anything to do with you. Then fuck off. It's one thing that you're a bigot. It's one thing that you're a racist. All fucking terrible. But speaking from one privileged white guy to another one, you have a position of privilege, lots of power. It is up to you to make the move. It is up to you to do the work. You make the biggest impact with the least amount of effort, and you can't even do that. Instead, you're devoting your energy to doing the opposite, to dig your feet in, to refuse to listen, to block your ears, to shut your eyes, and pretend that whatever fucking fantasy you have about being aggrieved and put upon and attacked and misunderstood, that's all real. Cool. Now imagine what it's like for people without your influence and without your position. You asshole. Imagine what that's like. It shouldn't be too hard. Derek telling people, you just need to give him a chance. No, man. Robert Price's rhetoric indicates he is unwilling to give anyone else a chance in any of these groups that he has identified. And he's misidentifying most of them. Fuck them.
That's the difference. I'm reminded of the amazing human being, Daryl Davis, an African-American blues musician and activist. He's known for his work in befriending members of the Ku Klux Klan, the KKK, and ultimately...
So is Derek Daryl Davis and Robert M. Price the KKK guy? Or is he trying to say that that's the model that everyone should take?
Convincing many to leave the organization after bonding with them over a period of 30 years. He has interviewed numerous KKK members, developed friendships, and facilitated their departure from the Klan by challenging their beliefs through dialogue and understanding.
Understanding what? My understanding is Daryl Davis is alive and well right now. I think he was born in like 58, 59. So he's managed to make it through. He grew up, made it into, as a child, made it through the civil rights era, etc. So at this point, most of the time that he's been talking to the KKK, trying to approach them, they're a little bit like kind of a fringe group. Now, if Daryl Davis was an individual who was living, say, back in the 20s or the teens, the 1900s, not obviously not the 2000s, and he was having these kinds of conversations with them, okay, maybe that would be kind of impressive. But it would also be entirely not up to him. Now, if this particular Daryl Davis is actively seeking out Klans members and trying to win them over, okay, fine. I've seen W. Kamau Bell do the same thing on a CNN show. Great. Well, if Daryl Davis has the patience to go and talk to a KKK member, then why won't you let me because that's not the purpose of your show, Derek. That's not the purpose of your show. The purpose of your show was to bring scholars on. And one of them that you brought on is a loon. And the other scholars don't want to be associated with the loon. And they kindly like to stay away from your show if that's how you're going to be. Is the loon a permanent fixture of your show? Or can you maybe make that go away? If that's the case, then maybe I could be talked into coming on. That's it. That's all this was. This wasn't about attacking you. This wasn't about attacking Robert M. Price. This is just nobody wants to be associated with a bigot. That's it. And now Derek is on here trying to make this about Maya and Chrissy and Jessica and Pocket Locker and Maya or whoever else he thinks is got a problem with this. Probably not Maya. I don't think he knows Maya.
This is an extreme example of Klan members because Bob is nothing like that. He is not a Klan member.
Good clarification.
His own uncle was killed by the Klan. If Daryl sees Klan members as people worth befriending, how much more should this group befriend Bob if they believe?
I think that's projecting a little bit. Nobody. How do you know that Daryl walked into the situation thinking that Klan members were worth being his friends? He wanted to talk them out of their racist tendencies. That's a little bit different than saying, I think I can be friends with those guys. I think Derek might be picking up the wrong thing there.
Believe what they claim they represent. The good guys. They claim to be good people. Why aren't they?
So it's everybody else's responsibility to talk to Robert M. Price, to go up to him personally and talk him out of his bigoted views. So all the trans people that have been exposed to him on Derek's channel need to go make that effort. All the gay people need to make that effort. All the people of color need to make that effort. All the left-wingers need to make that effort. All of them need to pay tribute to him and figure out how to talk him out of his bigotry, ignorance, and stupidity. Incorrect. I thought Derek was a conservative. Maya said that he's a conservative. This is not conservative thinking. This isn't libertarian thinking. If you're a conservative, an American conservative, and you lean towards libertarian, you are on your own. You pull yourself up by yourself. You are self-sufficient. It is nobody's responsibility to make you better. You need to make the effort to do better for whatever that's worth. Unfortunately, what's happened is a libertarian conservative mythos in the United States has perverted itself into an element of entitlement, psychological entitlement, where guys like Robert M. Price don't have to change. They represent the right way to do things, and everyone else represents some corruption of it, a retreat from the norm, a slippage of standards. And we need to tighten that shit back up to get it back to where Dr. Price is. That's the problem, Derek. Dr. Price represents entitlement.
They showing it. Do their words defy who they are? Kindness kills, and this cult could really use some. If these people in this extreme cult of purity far...
Is it okay that I don't want to be Bob's friend? I don't want to be friends with most people. Agreed, Dr. Davis. Agreed. I'll drink to that. I like this purity
left
cult.
Ideology really want...
This is not left... Jesus Christ. This is not left ideology. This kind of shit right here, this cultural stuff, is not left ideology. Left ideology is usually about social, economic, political policy. This is about cultural norms, decency, contemporary ethics, and morality. This is not about left versus right, for fuck's sake. It's not even about atheists versus Christians, for Christ's sake. I'm invoking the name of Christ here intentionally. The purpose of this entire thing is that Dr. Price is a ghoul and a jerk and a creep, and he says creepy, jerkish, ghoulish things, and he's written them in print, and people called him out on it. He has to take accountability for that. That's part of what being a fucking conservative is being held accountable to the shit you say. And if people don't want to hear it, they don't have to fucking listen to it. And if that leaves you isolated and you're a real conservative, then you fucking deal with it. That's how it happens. You do not get your younger friend to come on a show. And I'm not saying that Robert Price did, but this is starting to kind of like give off that energy. That Derek is on here like, I need to speak for my friend Robert Price because he can't speak for himself. Of course he can, Derek. Of course he can. He already did. And he wouldn't take responsibility for it. People told him like, hey, do you want to be welcomed back into this community? Then you need to take accountability for this and maybe apologize. Fuck you, was his response. Implicit, probably more than explicit. Actually, it was probably explicit when he was on Doug's channel. So that's it. Story's over. But Derek is here to try to rewrite the last 2-3 years of this drama and turn it into, oh, it was just these left woke people that were doing all this. These people in their ideological purity. Like I said before, if Dr. Bob feels like he's isolated from anyone, it's because the other side of this corridor is a group of right-wing people that insist you believe in Christ. And Dr. Price doesn't. He has all the bad shit accompanying that, but no Jesus with it. So he's out of that. He's off that picnic. But he can't come over to this side either because his politics are so fucking awful. And some of the people on this side of things aren't even atheists. They're not even particularly interested in Robert Price's opinion about atheism. They might just be interested in his take on mythicism, or they like seeing him on Derek's show to describe what scholarship he's aware of, what he understands.
Change, they would stop running around trying to destroy and actively try to befriend people they believe have issues. They don't know how. And now I'm their target. I'm sick of this. And I wanted people to be warned. You don't change by...
Who is targeting him? My understanding is he brought him back on. He brought Price back on, and people started making videos like, hey, what's going on? Now, that's not to say that he probably heard about stuff in the back channels. Does he think the back channel communication is being attacked?
Attacking and running around and labeling people, you befriend them and be kind. If you do that, you can make a change if you really believe your cause is right. These people don't know how to do this. Jessica, Chrissy, and others show more hatred and toxicity than any Christian cult I was part of. You see, when I was a member of the PCA church, I started having men's Bible study with other members of the church.
PCA.
And I began to believe that Jesus meant what he said when he was expecting the end to happen soon, within that generation. So I believed him that it did. This was me entering into full preterism, which teaches Jesus did return. The second coming happened in 70 CE. When the pastor caught wind of this, they spread the rumor in the church. He had me appear before 5 elders to have them correct me. There was no allowing me to respond. I tried. I felt like they had no room for really investigating the truth, and they made it clear that they weren't interested in to learn from me, to hear what I had to say.
What? Okay, so they've got a difference of opinion on something theological. What is the difference of opinion when somebody like Dr. Price decides to equate anyone that is engaged in vandalism with peaceful protest? You have lots of people in a city. Protesters are there. According to Dr. Baum, all protesters are bad because some looters did some looting. And since the looters were on this side and the law enforcement was over here, the looters and the protesters, we might as well just lump them into one. No nuance needed. He can then say that that's not controversial because he saw it happen with his eyes. He saw buildings start fire. He saw something get thrown into a car. He saw an alarm go off. How? Because there were other groups there that were journalists that were recording it. Were the journalists law enforcement or were they protesters / looters? Bob. The problem with his observations is that they betray an enormous deficit of critical thinking. Enormous. He's a fucking buffoon, to steal Kip Davis's word. He's a buffoon. He has guzzled the Kool-Aid of Fox News rhetoric from everybody from Tucker Carlson on down, thinking that he's got this stuff all figured out. And it betrays all of the usual lack of nuance. If anybody comes in and debunks it and says that's not how it worked, that those weren't the people involved, you're equivocating, you're conflating, you're exaggerating, this is hyperbolic language, doesn't care. He doesn't have to take responsibility for that, but anybody that comes in and tells him, oh, hey, Dr. Price is presenting this shit as if it's fact, and it isn't. And we're kind of curious why you're letting him get off the hook. Or maybe let us talk directly to Robert M. Price and find out exactly what he means by this shit. Now, Doug did that from Pine Creek and let him just run his mouth. And it made it worse. I know because after Pine Creek did that video, he appeared in a video, I believe, with Derek and Kip Davis, because I think this was before Pine Creek stopped talking to Kip Davis or vice versa. I'm not sure how that happened. And they all kind of agreed that the things that Dr. Price said while on Pine Creek's interview were even more problematic than the stuff that had been surfaced before. Dr. Bob did himself no favors. He was awarded no points, and may God have mercy on his soul. That's where it was left off.
What mattered was the Protestant men before them, like John Calvin, John Knox, Jonathan Edwards, the list goes on. And that was the theology they preferred. I knew I wasn't at home with this church, so I left, and they sent me and my wife excommunication letters.
Just like I'm leaving this cult. Again, remember, he says in the comments below, he's not talking about all atheists. The actual content of the video is talking about it. It's all you online atheists.
They never tried to destroy us. They didn't chase. This cult was pretty serious. For example, if I didn't make it to church on Sunday, which they called the Sabbath, an elder would appear at my home and ask where I was and why I didn't show up, because that's a sin. Why did you sin? This online cult is worse, and I'm about to get into why.
Please do. Okay, so you told us all that so you can tell us the next part. Well, let's hear the next part, because I think the last part didn't have anything to do with it except some barely connected appeal to purity, which Derek doesn't seem to understand. Because if he understood that, then he would know the reason that his good buddy Bob is lonely is because Bob can't go to Rumble and commiserate over there when people find out that he's an atheist.
Again, Chrissy has extreme political views. Bob has extreme political views.
In the United States, Dr. Bob's political views are not really that extreme, especially since fascism is more or less, normal now. If Chrissy Hansen is in fact a leftist, and I don't mean a leftist in the sense like she's got some leftist tendencies. There's a tendency for, and I keep saying this, if Chrissy Hansen is sort of a demand side Keynesian liberal, then she doesn't have extreme politics. It's just that a bunch of ghouls like Dr. Robert Price and people that he watched have confused people into thinking that supply side capitalists paint demand side economic theory capitalists as Marxists. Meanwhile, way over in the distance, the Marxists are like, what the fuck are you two over there doing? The actual communists don't have anything to do with that. So funny that Derek is trying to get into the politics discussion. I now agree with him. Do I vote for Hillary, or do I vote for Kamala, or do I vote for Trump? I'm just not educated enough. Agreed. But 99% of the United States probably isn't well educated enough in that term, in that sense. And I'm not trying to pat myself on the back. It's just that U.S. political communication is fucking horrible.
Both have extreme. One can publish, one's not allowed. The community doesn't allow differing people to have different opinions about these things. Pretty crazy. And my channel's not even about politics or any of that. It's just not. It's Bible. It's knowledge. It's history. And it helps people see the Bible differently. By the way, one comment. Bob's a perfect stepping stone for conservatives. You would think logistically a wise move for people who want to see deconversion happen from people who are on the right, conservative Christians. If he's a Trump supporter or a conservative, wouldn't you think they would listen to him a little more and maybe actually gravitate toward him being a process, a stepping stone toward the direction you want?
No, because I don't give a fuck about who is or is not a believer. I care about what their beliefs politically and religious mean in terms of how they treat people. I don't give a fuck about what Jesus Christ. Oh, he's a Nazi, but he doesn't believe in Jesus. So that's really important to me. So I wanted to make sure that he was here on my side to make sure that none of you all get the idea of thinking that it's cool to think Jesus is actually real. Does he want to open up the camps, and does he believe in dysgenics? Oh, he absolutely does. In fact, he's measuring all your skulls right now as we're talking.
The common sense leaves the brain because they have a purity cult mentality, a dogma you must stick to, and who we're allowed to promote, who we're allowed to talk to online. They act like he's dangerous. Far from it. My experience tells me he is a breath of fresh air when it comes to Bible and the knowledge he spews, and he knows how to do that well. Now, here's why.
Not the politics stuff. He's just repeating stuff he heard on cable news, man. He's not good at it.
Within the past few months, really since the beginning, I've tried to rekindle my relationship with Bob, but really, really recently, because he was very important. I wanted him to know that, and that he never actually harmed me other than my feeling that he did when he wouldn't apologize. But was it really to me? So some groups will claim he has harmed them deeply, Maybe they are hurt. But these are the same people who are also deeply hurt for misgendering someone. Let me give you a real example. I personally have had this experience. I went to an atheist conference hosted by my friend Thomas Westbrook, where I met another great guy, Stephen Woodford, Rationality Rules. We were in the hotel lobby chatting, and while I was speaking about a story, I guess I accidentally misgendered someone. I didn't know what I did. I come from a world where men are boys and they have penises, and women have vaginas and can give birth. This is all so new and honestly strange to me. I cannot remember if it was a she, he, or they. The person flipped the fuck out on me. I was embarrassed, and Stephen Woodford looked at me feeling bad. He knew that this was embarrassing, and he looked at me. My wife Ryan wanted to whoop their ass because it was so embarrassing and bad. All that to say, are they overreacting and making this much bigger?
Okay, I think his wife might have a few issues, but all right.
Than it should be? If so, then why is their tactic to attack and accuse rather than build up and help change? Let's get right to what happened recently that really makes me have a revelation. I had a revelation about this entire Bob Price situation. Recently, I did a stream with a very good friend I know, John F. White, who has a channel called Creckenford on YouTube. We discussed...
And a beard just as scummy as mine. Good for you, John White.
Ancient myths. I posted the video on my Facebook group, and Chrissy Hansen, the same person who was behind Bob, right, commented that he, John F. White, was associated with white supremacists. I'm not sure if they said he was one or just associated with. Huge accusation. Here is Chrissy again, accusing, labeling, destroying others' reputations. She was one of the masterminds behind the initial Bob Price situation.
So she's a mastermind now. She's a master. A little bit of advice for Derek. If you want to be taken seriously, maybe do not use this kind of language when describing your rhetorical opponents or your friend Dr. Price's rhetorical opponents as masterminds, manipulators, schemers. Don't do that kind of stuff. That makes it sound like you've already decided they are. And it also seems pretty dismissive. Well, she masterminded this whole scheme against Dr. Robert M. Price. So anything that she says, it follows that anything that she points out about Dr. John F. White must also be disregarded because Chrissy Hansen is a schemer.
She has done tons of damage to many people's reputations like Dave Allen, where you can hear it directly from their own mouth that they like to destroy people.
Just doing normal Chrissy things, ending people's careers,
Ending people's careers,
Literally from her own mouth, she loves doing this.
You're getting that from an out of context. Like, I don't know if, is Chrissy being facetious there? Is she taking the piss?
Toxic. Really, really stay away, honestly. She has done this with Richard
Bree, how's it going?
And has played a major role in academics online, not passing Dr. Richard Carrier's articles and trying to run around destroying him for past allegations where he was never charged with anything. Accusations. If there's truth to them, there was no charge, but they love to do this. And in fact, I think some of the reasons he's not getting peer-reviewed material through is because there is a real thing going on where Chrissy's in the ear of these academics and they're spreading rumors and everyone's talking shit behind the scenes. I'm an honest believer this isn't a conspiracy because I've spoken to scholars who I'm not going to name names who have actually said this. And I'm...
Okay, well, that's a significant issue, right? So Chrissy is a mastermind of all this kind of stuff, and this is a significant problem. Ugh. All right. Also, Chrissy's the reason that Dr. Price isn't getting included into peer-reviewed journals. I thought it was the fact that Dr. Price formed his own journal. Was it the Journal of Higher Criticism or something like that? His own little journal? And he just published there. Because this would not be the first time that Dr. Price has had an issue with the peer review process historically. This goes back decades. Maya, why are they giving Chrissy credit for your woke cult?
I'm telling you, it's sick how deep this shit goes. I know so much dirt that this person does behind the scenes, like hours of audios, every private message that they say, like this is so much. Chrissy is honestly behind so many issues online. And then Chrissy makes this accusation about my friend John F. White. And I know John. And Dr. Kip Davis believes Chrissy. So I called John with these accusations because I know the guy and have befriended him. Once he tells me that she is lying and has been lying about this for several years, spreading this misinformation on WhatsApp, Twitter, Reddit, and other platforms, John sends me a 12-minute audio on WhatsApp that nails the coffin shut. But Kip, he doesn't know John. He's still listening to Chrissy. Chrissy's still in his ear, probably right now, even to this day. Chrissy doubled down.
That sea witch, Chrissy. Yeah, she's just dancing around inside Kip Davis's prefrontal lobe. Like pulling his strings, blowing that flute that makes him dance the dance that only Chrissy will. Jesus Christ. Ooh, Chrissy's still up in there. Okay. All right. Oh, Derek.
And sends a picture with a logo on it that one of these members is wearing an Odinic rights badge, one of them, in a photo. The claim from Kip and Chrissy was that supposedly this guy John is in the picture.
I think he is. I think he's right there. These guys all look the same. I can't tell none y'all apart. What the hell? It's either that guy or the guy behind that. I don't know. What the hell? Holy shit. All these guys, how are they all the same skin color except for this dude? This one's the only one with a tan. Oh, this guy's got darker hair than usual. Ooh, watch out, buddy.
Claim from Kip and Chrissy was that supposedly this guy John is in the picture. But he's not. That was all bullshit. And John made a video on YouTube explaining this on his channel. Chrissy is trouble, so I had to block this person. They were caught lying red-handed, and poor Kip is caught up thinking there was some truth to this accusation. She's been doing this for years. It dawned on me that Chrissy always did this, and she did this with my friend Bob. It was like I snapped out of a dream all at once. I then realized that these people are deeply troubled and like to destroy.
What do you mean, these people, Derek?
Others.
Just doing normal Chrissy things, ending people's careers, you know?
Not to really understand or find out. Chrissy had years to be able to contact and have long, friendly conversations with John F. White, to find out if he is this evil guy she acts like he is. The same is true of Bob. The thing is, I know both of them personally and don't believe this bullshit about my friends. These interpretations were dead wrong about John, and I would say are also wrong about Bob. They are conflating his conservative politics with racism. And if Bob...
Okay, I don't mean to speak for all conservatives out there, but if you are a conservative American politically, then you believe in the right to protest. You believe in the First Amendment. If you believe, as Dr. Price believes, that certain people, when they protest, deserve to be executed by law enforcement without due process, you are not conservative. You are a despicable monster. That's not a difference of an opinion. That's just an observation in terms of where do your thoughts lead? If you believe in constitutional notions of due process, equal treatment under the law, and the equal recognition of the Bill of Rights, application of those Bill of Rights for individuals under that law, when someone makes statements like Dr. Price does, you can easily point out like, oh, hey, you're not a conservative because the statement that you just made was monstrous. Would you like to maybe amend what you just said? Maybe scratch that and go back to the beginning?
Bob has any bigotry, it is unconscious and not anything he even knows about. These people do not know him. I do. These people do not care to know him. I do. They would rather crucify him and throw him in an unmarked grave or let the birds eat the flesh off of his skin as he rots.
Yes, that's precisely what I want. I want to see Dr. Robert Price disappeared into a potter's field or hammered to a tree, Roman style. Derek, Jesus Christ, calm the fuck down. I don't give a shit if Robert Price is on your channel. Just let me know in advance so I can tune the fuck out. That's all anybody's asking for. You're going to host a monster on your show? Post a content warning, for Christ's sake. Kip Davis puts out here, this is not what Craig and Ford's video is about. After this happened, he made an excellent video about how Norse pagan imagery and symbolism is tragically appropriated by white supremacists. It is. That's a real issue. I actually live in an area where there is a Norse festival that happens. Oh God, it's in the winter months. It's always kind of a mucky, muddy affair. But people gather to throw hatchets at bad wooden cutouts and stuff and buy honey. And some of the people that show up there, you can tell from some of the tattoos along the neck and the wrist, they try to keep them covered, that they are of the problematic Norse type. So it's always a little bit different.
Spots on the cross. I'm fucking done with these people. One more comment. Chrissy got caught. Chrissy emailed John because she got caught. Kip had to pressure her. Got caught. She emails him and says, I'm sorry for this brief mention, as if it was insignificant. John's like, I woke up and thought, oh, cool, she's going to apologize. No, she's been doing it for years against John. And I heard through a little birdie, I'm not going to name names, I'm thankful for my sources, that she's still hunting dirt on John now because she's pissed that she was wrong and got caught. So she doesn't want to.
I have no background on this issue, so I really can't comment on any of this. I have no idea what this is about. Although in the 4-hour video that is linked in my description, they do talk to Chrissy about this a bit.
Be wrong. She's still looking to see if John F. White has racist stuff, find him, see if he has white supremacist things. Like, this is a poison, a toxic community. I am warning anyone, if you come close to these people, I promise you, you will potentially either rot with them at some point or they will turn on you at some point if you have any conscience. Like, if you're at least honest.
You mean conscience?
And being truthful here, the world doesn't work this way. It's much messier, and they are literally.
Agreed. It is much messier. And the way that Derek is describing it somehow is like stripped any nuance of it and made it about everyone versus him and Bob. Which is automatically like if you are a critical thinker, like Dr. Bob is supposed to be, then you should know that these are immediate warning flags. Like if it's just this side against this side, something's going wrong.
Trying to harm and hurt people, and I'm done. Listen, I need you to hear from my brother Neil, Gnostic informant, who saw everything unfold, was there from the start, and sees he had all sorts of stuff that he has seen that helps you understand the kind of people and the way that they operate in the community.
So I actually wasn't even going to address any of this stuff because it's so petty and to the floor as far as like things that even matter.
It's really more my thing than anybody else's.
These are people who have obviously issues, power tripping issues, self-appointed heroes, savior complexes. They're going to save all the people that need help. They're the white savior. They're this, they're that. Heathen Queen, I was friends with Heathen Queen for a while, but I noticed the red flags one by one to this very day. Which is why I haven't even spoken to Heathen Queen in probably over a year, maybe even longer than that. And this is somebody who starts going to school for a couple of months and immediately shifts into like expert mode. Red flag. Number 2, red flag. Always getting their car stolen in the middle of the night. Someone crashes into your car. My car was stolen Saturday night. My car has remote GPS. I disabled my car in Starlink. It's been 24 hours and not a single officer has the time to go where my car is. Okay, that's normal. People get their cars stolen.
If anybody's watching this video, then you can see the dates of these. They're over the course of like 3 or 4 years. Like this is from 2021. I think she became a student in 2022 or 2023. I remember when she got accepted to the University of Chicago. She became a grad student out there. And he's talking about fuck me
all the time, right? Disables my crashes into your car. Red flag. Shifts into like expert mode.
2024.
Red Wolf Queen probably over months. And immediately shifts.
Her card was issued in September of 2023. That's when she became a student. She did this spring of 2024. Someone tried to proselytize to me earlier. They were showing me a little booklet with Hebrew, which I had to read to them because they only knew one word. She knows how to read Hebrew. I'm pretty sure she actually taught herself how to read Hebrew before she got into grad school. So, because I remember her talking to Dr. Josh about stuff like that. She was interested in that kind of online content. So this guy's kind of talking out of his ass so far.
Into like expert mode.
She's not talking about expert mode. She knows how to read Hebrew, and the person that was trying to proselytize to her only knew a word.
Red flag. Number 2.
Why is it a red flag?
Always getting their car stolen.
This was 3 years ago. I think she lived in San Francisco. Her car was hit. Didn't she used to live in Oakland? She lived in the Bay Area somewhere. First of all, the fact that somebody gets hit while parked, not uncommon if you live in a city. Her car was stolen in 2021. What does this have to do? Like, how is all this stuff taken
in the middle
together?
of the night? Someone crashes into your car. My car was stolen Saturday night. My car has remote GPS. I disabled my car in Starlink. It's been.
But she lives in Chicago now. I know she moved there in 2023, or possibly a little, not September 2023, but a little bit earlier. But she was from the Bay Area, I believe. But I can't remember if she lived in San Fran or in Oakland, but she was somewhere over there.
Been 24 hours and not a single officer has the time to go where my car is. Okay.
She's in the Bay Area in 2021. They had an enormous exodus of cops in 2021 in the Bay Area. They were not responding to calls.
Hey, that's normal.
It was in 2021. What the fuck does this have to do with her opinions about price?
People get their cars stolen all the time, right? It happens to everyone, right?
Happens to a lot of people. Again,
hit in the middle of the night. Someone just driving by your car and hits your car. Oh, okay.
In a big city, that's happened to my car in a small town.
Wow, you just have really bad luck. And then
she might.
All of a sudden, you have another post where somebody got hacked into your bank account and stole all your money.
Because she's a new student. That happens to a lot of new student accounts.
All your student loans gone overnight. Wow, that sucks. Bank of America, it's your fault. After a while, when I start,
who is this? What is this guy? What is this thinking? What's going on there? If I was talking to this guy and he was describing the plight of this person at a party, I would probably throw my cup at him and walk out. What the fuck does this have to do with anything? He might as well be talking about astrology. What is this?
seeing things. I obviously, disclosure mode, I've talked about this on my channel. I come from a very rocky past. Drug addiction was involved. I've been to prison. I've been to multiple rehabs. Sounds like myself. She sounds like me in my early 20s. All problems, none of it's my problem though.
When your car is stolen from you, it is literally not your fault. If your car is clipped while it's parked, literally not your fault. If your funds in your bank account are depleted or fucked up outside of your normal course of business, not your fault. If she had never tweeted about these things, he would not know about these things. And so then I guess by that extension, she would have been a well-adjusted individual by virtue of him never having known about these problems. Right? Is this the level of critical thinking that Gnostic Informant is bringing to the table? The fuck is this shit?
It's always someone else's problem. Now, I don't know her. I don't know if she's
that
doing
isn't
drugs.
even implied
really
by her circumstances.
Behavior on the internet is bizarre. Constantly shaming her friends for being mutually friends with people that put up bad jokes, I guess. Constantly talking about how bald men are, and they're constantly body shaming men for having big foreheads or ugly and aging and balding. That's okay. That you can do that, and you can be the leader of this atheist online leftist movement, as long as you are in step with the bigger picture here. In fact, a lot of it is like people are afraid of this person. And I think it's fear. And when I see our friends tiptoeing around this behavior, like Kip Davis.
Probably not signing up for these courses.
I thought that was J.L. Warren. That's Dan McClellan. I don't know who these two guys are, but they both look familiar.
I see our friends tiptoeing around this behavior, like Kip Davis.
Probably not signing up for these courses because you've been an atheist now for more than 5 years and you're just over it. Okay.
But you should totally sign up for some courses.
Yeah, five of y'all sign up for Kip's course, of course. But five of y'all.
I think they look silly. I can see it.
I do like it when Kip plugs his own courses. I think that's hilarious. And I also like it when Jay just, dogs people out for being interested in the Bible. Even though I disagree with them, I still think it's funny. But a lot of that's about delivery. Jeff, go back and read what she actually and actually read. No, I mean, I did. I can't take it back. There's nothing to. I agree with
in
you.
their faces.
There's nothing in these tweets
of this
that has
balding. That's okay. Foreheads or how bald
These are
friends of people.
reaction
That is bizarre. Constantly shame, but the behavior on the internet.
Whilst walking the dogs today, I bent over to clean up some poop because I'm responsible, and I hear someone yelling, so I pull out my headphones and look around. A male that appears young enough to not recall dial-up internet says from his car, "Hey, can I get your number? Young man, I could be your nana. Please move along." Oh, she's a monster. I mean, thank you, Bree, for making me go back and read it. Now that I know, Jessica here has been exposed for what she really is. Everybody keep your distance. She is, these kinds of hot takes on X will not be tolerated. Not for females. From women of any kind. No.
That is bizarre. Atheist online leftist movement. As long as you are.
Again, I don't give a fuck about men being bald. Men do. How is she body shaming bald men, guy? When the words are right there.
Are in step with the bigger picture here. In fact, a lot of it is like people are afraid of this person, and I think it's fear. And when I see,
no, you're afraid of her, probably because she could clean, press you over her head.
People, when I see our friends tiptoeing around this behavior, like Kip Davis,
probably not signing up for these courses because you've been an atheist now for more than 5 years and you're just over it. Okay.
But you should totally sign up for some courses.
five of y'all sign up for Kip's course, of course. But five of y'all,
I think they look silly. I can see it in their faces. I can see.
Thank you for that reminder.
That they look like they feel like they're doing a contradiction. Here am I following this person who's a complete train wreck, completely sociopathic, thinks that they're the arbitrary of all truth, and in reality, their whole entire life is in shambles, and they're constantly complaining about their cars being stolen and they're being hacked and all this crazy nonsense.
Constantly. Okay. Over the course of 3 years, she has stated that her car was stolen when she lived somewhere other than Chicago. A year or two after that, it was minorly damaged because somebody clipped it while she was parked. And then she had issues after she became a student in 2024 because she had banking issues. Her funds had been depleted, either because she got hacked, bank fucked up, something like that. And because she tweeted about it, this guy's like, well, your life is in chaos and in ruin, so unless you get your life straight, maybe don't talk about other people. Okay. I'm going to remember this every time I hear these guys talk about, you know what? I came up from a bad way. I was in jail a couple of times. I was an addict. I'm like, oh, say no more. Dipshit, get the fuck away from me. Once a loser, always a loser. Am I right? I mean, you wrote off Jessica because somebody once stole her car. And then her car got hit a year after that. And then 2 years after that, she had the audacity to go to grad school, and then was a banking hiccup, and she posted about that. I mean, what a chaos machine, right? What a complete engine of disorder and disunity. But, you got your shit correct after, being an addict and spending time in jail, but you bootstrapped that shit. And now you're a successful YouTuber, and nothing bad ever happens to you ever because of virtue of you keeping your shit together. What kind of magical thinking, horseshit nonsense is this? Again, you might as well be talking about fucking astrology if you're talking about this. I would rather hear somebody talk about astrology, as long as it was informed astrology and not whatever the fuck this is.
Sense that you only get from chaotic people who have issues. Let's be real. These aren't normal things that people.
You mean addicts? You are one. He just admitted that he is one. Addicts tend to be.
People do on an everyday basis. This is a toxic community that I want no part of. And people who've been watching me have noticed.
Even if everything he said about Jessica followed, which it does not, how does that then follow into the fact that the community that she's in is also toxic? How do you assemble a grocery list thinking like this? That one has literally nothing to do with the other. You could be in this community and be the most buttoned down, anal retentive, nothing ever goes wrong, son of a bitch in the history of America, still be in this community, and Jessica could be the absolute whirling dervish of chaos. A person who sows so much discord, time passes in reverse if you get close enough to her, and it would still not follow that the community is chaotic. The fuck?
I've been distant from these people. Chrissy Hansen tried to destroy my life after helping me write my script against mythicism. And I was being attacked online from mythicism for being a liar and all this crazy stuff. And I sent one message to Chrissy Hansen, and I said, hey, Ocean Keltoy, does he not know that the people that he's sitting here defending are like completely in the wrong on most of this shit? She responds to me and says, oh, I don't want to get involved in this. Fair enough. I'm just asking you a question. I didn't even ask you to get involved. I'll show the text. I didn't even ask you to get involved. But at this point in time, this is how I know these people are Machiavellian sociopaths, because instead of just ending it right there, which any normal person would have done, oh, okay, crossed your boundary there. I didn't know.
Fair enough, Brie. I think she does too. Usually she does. She will usually point out like, oh yeah, no, I know I'm being a lot and things are insane right now, but that's just what it is. It's like, okay, fine. I find it uniquely problematic. I hate to use that word, overly use that word, but when somebody who's admitted to being an addict is being this dismissive and judgmental of somebody who has a chaotic kind of lifestyle and is trying to use that to imply, well, maybe this person is on something, or maybe they too share similar problems. Like, if they share similar problems to you, you motherfucker, maybe you ought to be a little bit more, sympathetic or empathetic to their plight, for fuck's sake. Instead of casting weird aspersions based on 3 years worth of randomly selected tweets that didn't read the way that you wanted to, but because they featured vaguely traumatic things, you assume this person's life is just a walking disaster zone?
No, okay, cool. End of it. This person is wanting to stay out of it, places themselves into the middle of it, and starts attacking me publicly. That's when I knew this person was not normal.
Depending on the circumstances of what happened between them, it sounds normal, except for the attacking part. I never really get this, when people say it, especially when white guys say it. And I hate to do this because it's always kind of weird. When white dudes say they're being attacked, Jesus fucking Christ, it's just somebody making an observation about our behavior. That's literally it. Oh, you said something stupid there, you motherfucker. I'm like, how dare you attack me? I'm like, no, you did. You did say something stupid. The weird thing is that amongst white guys, we can do this all the time. You can say the wrong thing, literally get attacked by your friends, sometimes physically, and be like, oh, I'm so sorry. I said the wrong thing. I picked the wrong words. Yeah, I did. My bad. But if it happens in these spaces, all of a sudden, like, how dare you? You hurt my feelings. You attacked me. Like, shut the fuck up. Grow up.
The main takeaway was, at that point in time, the reason why Chrissy Hansen did that to me, because at that point in time, I think I had less than 20,000 subscribers. And Ocean Keltoy at that point in time had over 90,000 subscribers. So this was an opportunity for this is what sociopaths do. They see the opportunity.
Fabio says, mate, you and Jessica are two faces of the same code. Something happens to you and you need to tell it to everybody. Exposure means you're exposed. If you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen. I don't know if this is I don't know if that's complimentary or not, Fabio, but thanks. I don't tell everybody about everything that happens to me. Mostly because you couldn't handle the drama. God, my life is adventurous and dangerous. It's not.
Opportunity. And they saw me as expendable, even though you just helped me write this script that I'm in this whole thing for.
Yeah, I'm going to call shenanigans on this. Like, okay, so this person was willing to help you write a script about mythicism and then turned on you seemingly out of the blue. Yeah, I'm going to call bullshit.
I didn't tell anyone you helped me write this script. I kept that between you and me until right now. Because now I don't care. You have no power over me. You never will have power over me. I will continue to host whoever I want to host on my channel. That does not mean I condone them or believe what they believe. We are having conversations about things that I want to talk about, which is ancient history, mythology, the Bible. If you don't like that, you can hit the downvote button. You can leave as many comments as you want, and I won't even block them. And you can tweet all you want. Do as many panels with.
Yeah, exactly. What part does Ocean play here? It got left off. Other than what Chrissy wouldn't engage. He asked, like, does Ocean know that he's siding with people that have got this all wrong? And Chrissy's like, yeah, no, and bowed away from that. Like, oh, that's sus. Like, I don't know how.
With Jay, all you want that 5 people watch. I don't care. You have zero power over me. These people who I known as people like.
Okay, Jesus, this guy is right with information. Incorrect. If you are a YouTuber and you have videos, those people have some power over you. It's not a lot, but it's some. Knock that shit off. You have no right to tell me what to do. You got no power over me. You are a content creator and you're looking for viewers. If those people are willing to view, they have some power over you, at least in the sense that they're either one, willing to engage you, and then maybe willing to leave you. If you manage to make a dent and they feel inspired enough to leave a comment or say something in the live stream, then you might be doing a pretty good job. But don't sell yourself short. Well, here's the thing. You're either selling yourself short by saying that like you don't have enough, you're just on here as an image, burping up noises at, everybody on the planet. That's not how it works. This is the same thing. Like, you don't often choose your own friends. Your friends tend to choose you. And this is sort of the same thing. When you're a content creator, your audience picks you and they have some power over you, depending on what direction you tend to take your show in. So when guys like this, I'm like, I don't have to do what you say. I can do whatever. Well, you can do whatever you want. But let's just keep in mind here, you can't actually do whatever you want with your show without potentially losing all of your viewers, which means your show might disappear. You'll be fine. You have all the freedom in the world, but your show doesn't.
Dan McClellan opened up the red carpet for.
Everybody, it's about 6:25-ish p.m. Mountain Time on Monday, August 28th, and in about 35 minutes, I'm going to be going live on TikTok with TikTok's own Heathen Queen. So if you would like to come see how things are going, check out the discussion and say hi, please drop by.
Oh, I'm going to have Heathen Queen on tonight. Oh, great. Well, I guess this guy doesn't have any standards about body shaming or unethical activity on the internet and acting like a...
Dan McClellan deserves to be canceled because he hosts Heathen Queen, who posts ribald, naughty, rambunctious tweets, and sometimes confessional tweets about her lot in life and misfortune and these kinds of things. And according to him, she body shames men, even though she didn't in the tweet example that he gave. Dan McClellan should be ashamed of himself for platforming somebody like Heathen Queen. God damn you, Dan, and God damn you even more, Jessica, you man-hating she-bitch. Bob Price should be allowed onto MythVision without any criticism whatsoever. I don't have time for this Mickey Mouse bullshit. Holy shit. Stop not thinking through stuff. Fuck. If it applies to one, it applies to the other. And anytime you guys try to do this kind of thing where it's like, well, if it applies to them, then it should apply to her. I'm struggling to figure out how keeping Robert M. Price on a channel after Derek literally cried over the stuff that he said and the fact that other scholars were willing to walk away from being guests on his channel is equivalent to Dan having a woman on who occasionally tweets the spicy tweet that makes you feel embarrassed or weird or scared. Okay? It's like trying to cancel somebody because they're a fan of Gallagher or something like that. Like, oh, he's a fan of comedy that involves the physical, demolition of fruit. Like, yeah, it's a little chaotic. It's a little messy. Sometimes entertaining. A tarp was provided. I mean, just calm down, right? Like, if you don't like it, then don't do it. But now this, I don't know what this is. I do not fucking know what this is. Fuck.
Like a complete buffoon and psychopath. Okay, cool. I get it. This isn't this.
I'm glad somebody got it, Michael. Thank you very much. My favorite character from that movie, even though he's an absolute scumbag. But Gary Oldman for the win.
Has nothing to do about having consistent morals anymore. This has to do with what team I'm on, which side of which clique I'm with in the internet. And so I don't want any part of that. I don't want it's cancerous to me. It's poisonous. And
this is like him declaring what team he's going to be on and then going to it.
I'm actually mad at myself for even being a part of any of this stuff.
Bob, if
you didn't have any, again, your audience chooses you. You're not responsible for the actions of your audience. You're responsible for the actions you take on your show, and you're responsible for the guests that you have on. And sometimes they can take you by surprise. Sometimes they might disappoint. If you do that, you take responsibility for it, you roll forward. You make corrections, you do what you need to do. Whatever he was talking about there seemed to have absolutely nothing to do with his channel. It doesn't matter at all, other than the fact he's trying to be like, well, these people are a fucking mess over here. I can have Bob Price on whenever I want without any. I don't have to answer your questions. I don't have to take any of your grief. Well, cool. Then why don't you just shut down any of the comments on any of the channels that you do and not have live comments go at all? You just broadcast out stuff, or just have AI create your shit, for fuck's sake. Why don't you just get even lazier and dial it in that hard? Set up a camera outside your patio and record the birds eating out of a bird feeder. You'll probably get more views. Seriously, I've thought about it. It'd be an interesting way to monetize the channel.
You're watching this. I'm sorry for everything I ever did to harm you. And I know you are as well, for anything that we've done that we've hurt each other. They don't deserve an apology from you. If there was ever going to be one, it would have happened from decent people who approached this, like the kind guy Daryl, as my example earlier.
Yeah, Kalasia from McClellan, no, he's very level-headed. This will, you could be taking his blood pressure right now. It won't adjust it up or down one level. Like it would have no effect. He does not care about this stuff.
The Ku Klux Klan. I love you, Bob. I know these people want you destroyed, and I know they will attempt to destroy me for this.
I do not fucking want Dr. Robert M. Price destroyed. What I would like destroyed is his frame of reference for a lot of the fucking horrible takes and ideas that he has. I would like those destroyed. I would like those stomped to bits. I would like for somebody to go out and communicate to a lot of people in Dr. Price's age range and tell them, stop fucking watching Fox News. Stop watching Newsmax. Stop watching any of this shit. All they're doing is selling you disinformation. This is not news. It's news-attainment. It doesn't mean anything. They are selling you a narrative, and you are regurgitating it back at your kids, back at your friends, back at your colleagues, and it's getting you in trouble. And it's a horrible fucking look. It makes you, it ages you. It makes you tired. It makes you stressed out. I've watched this shit happen with young people, elderly people. Fuck, I saw it happen with myself when I consumed the early versions of this shit in my 20s. I felt it happen in myself. This is not new. This shit has been around for a long time. They have been perfecting this since the 90s. It's now weapon grade now. Nobody wants to see Price destroyed. What they don't want to see is somebody like you, Derek, put this guy on there, and every time he says some cross-eyed shit, or every time he refuses to take any accountability for cross-eyed shit he said in the past, he doesn't have to take accountability for it, and you don't have to take any accountability for having a guy like that on there. And I want to know how two conservative, ostensibly conservative people can live with that basic contradiction. He should be able to take responsibility for his political opinions, and you should be able to take responsibility for having him on there. The one last thing that you should be doing is fucking blaming other people for how they feel about the shit he's talking about or the shit you're projecting onto them. That ain't conservative. That's not self-reliant. That's you pushing the accountability onto everybody else and then coming out with this air of entitlement, like, I can have on whoever I want. I can do whatever I want. And as long as it's with the air of the MythVision religion discussion bubble, nobody needs to feel affected by it in any way, shape, or form. Perfect. Then it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant and no one needs to give a shit. Enjoy mediocrity and irrelevance.
This as well. I don't care what they want. And I hope more academics will not listen to their poison.
You should care what your audience wants. You don't have to respond to every single person. You can have fans and viewers that can have unhinged views and can be overly critical or can overstep or do whatever. That can happen. I have one. It's my brother, Jay. Sorry, Jay. But you do need to pay attention to the general vibe of what you're getting from your audience. And if the general vibe that you're getting, if you're getting a huge percentage, a significant percentage of people that are like, hey, this dude that you got on your channel, what are you doing with him? You owe it as a content creator, and you owe it as somebody who owes your views to those viewers, to those people participating in your live streams and in your videos, to give them an explanation. Taking this step where I don't owe you shit, or you're attacking me, or any of this other kind of stuff is a bunch of fucking nonsense. That's for weaklings and losers. You need to own that shit. They could be mistaken about what they're trying to say, but you owe it to yourself and you owe it to them to analyze it, reflect on it, and respond to it. Not react to it, not deflect it, not punch them in the face over it, or accuse them of coming up over the fences like a zombie horde. Oh, they're swooping in over me. They're hurt. They're pissed off because you platformed a guy that says shit that's harmful, that is legitimately harmful. If you don't get it, I just would point you to the Pine Creek video where Dr. Price is okay with the police shooting protesters. That kind of rhetoric is fucking harmful, and there's no excuse for it. That's not like, oh, well, we can agree to disagree. No, we cannot. If he says he's conservative, he should believe in the First Amendment. They have a right to protest, not get fucking shot without due process. He's no longer a conservative. I don't know what that is. Actually, I'm pretty sure I know what that is. That's one component of fascism. So I don't want to see that fucking guy around anymore. And if you want him around, I won't be around anymore. Because that's the thing that I can control. It's just this fucking simple. I don't get this.
I learned a very valuable lesson at 37 years of age. When people are your friends, fight for them. Keep your real friends close. Bob has had to part.
Lena says, Jefferson, haven't you been in the comment section? Derek knows what his audience and knows what he's doing. Really? Is his audience going this conservative? He's deleting comments ferociously? Well, that wouldn't surprise me. Self-reliance. Fucking like it. I am a big fan of self-reliance, and I'm a fucking communist. Self-reliance is a big component of communism. Marx wrote about it. That's conservatism. You just believe the lie. Okay. That is an interesting debate, Lena. We would have to have that discussion. I don't think that you and I disagree there. What I'm talking about is the conservatism that is supposedly espoused by American conservatives and that they believe in self-reliance and personal responsibility and all that shit. But the way they behave is entitlement, projection, laying off the blame. So, yeah.
Ways with people who are actual racist, who struggle to not even say the N-word. Bob has distanced himself from people who openly post anti-Semitic posts. But even these people are worth trying to help. You don't just and attack. The fact is, I don't know another New Testament scholar like Dr. Bob.
we did help him. We whipped his motherfucking legs.
With his 2 PhDs. Idiots online who act like he has nothing to contribute really don't know.
Kip Davis is an idiot who believes he doesn't have anything to contribute. Kip Davis has stated that he believes that his Dr. Price's relevant research is basically kind of dated to like the late 80s, early 90s. It's basically irrelevant. There are contemporaries that are more informed and are up to speed on this kind of stuff. Bob Price is kind of regurgitating stuff that he heard before, and some of it is outdated.
Know what they're talking about.
Does he have anything to offer? You know what? If he's not actively involved in publishing scholarly, but he has a PhD, I think he does have something to offer if he's trying to speak as a communicator within that realm. In that case, he would be better off doing what Derek's doing, trying to facilitate more of these scholars coming out and talking about this kind of stuff, because Dr. Price has a background in some of these fields. He can talk about that maybe, and if he's a good communicator, maybe present it to lay people. But he's not doing that. Derek's doing that, and Robert Price wants to be brought in as the expert. And Robert Price ain't as up to snuff as some of the other experts Derek has had on.
And what's ironic is this. Bob Price has published on Paul not existing, the Pauline letters being all fabricated. This is a new resurging idea that's come up from Nina Livesey and from Marcus Vincent. Like, Bob was this decades ago. He was already on this whole thing. Now, you could disagree with it. You can say, I don't agree with these views these scholars are presenting. Cool. Guess what? I don't necessarily agree, because MythVision's all about that. But to do that, to try and poo-poo this guy, get the fuck off my train tracks. I don't need you around if you're going to sit here and do that with scholars, because you don't do it with one, but you're finding excuses to do it to another. No, I want to allow the whole buffet of scholarship to be presented. I like...
Okay, even if it's been okay.
The radical views. I like some of the more conservative stuff. You know, I'm going to do a better job in all of this. I think I'm actually going to start interviewing more conservative Christian academics that they have that can contribute, because I'm annoyed by this. I almost want to just make amends, if you will, and try to go back there and see if I can't get some of these other minds who've contributed to the arena of scholarship and not just
conservative. In what way? What way is he talking about? Politically, academically, philosophically? Like, what is he talking about?
Only go for extreme critical scholars. Like, it's where it's leading.
What is an extreme critical scholar? What the fuck is that, Derek?
If that makes sense. This reminds me of the time when Dr. Josh was streaming with 3 other people. All 4 people on the stream were white men. Jessica Heathen Queen was screaming from the chat, why aren't women and blacks on the panel? She shamed them for having a stream because they didn't have nothing but 4 white guys on the show. Josh buckled to this request, feeling sensitive and hurt. Oh my God, what did I do wrong? But my gut thought, this is nuts. No one's gonna guilt me over some shit that I didn't do wrong. Jessica also said on one of my streams with her and Josh that she hates.
Does anybody know about that with Jessica? I mean, I can kind of see her doing that, especially if she's had, like, you know, gotten a little bit of wine in her or something like that. I can kind of see her, getting, running off on that tangent. But if those were the only 3 scholars that they could actually get on in that particular field, I mean, it's not that big a field. So
hates white people.
Yeah.
It's not.
Also, sorry, I'm LOLing at people in the comments saying anti-white indoctrination. Bye.
I'm not anti-white.
I am.
And I'm thinking, girl.
Okay, that is kind of funny. That opens up an entirely different conversation about what she means by white and what Derek, I think, given his expression, thinks white is. I don't think she's saying she's anti-white people. There is a concept in sociology that is problematic, known as whiteness, capital W. Let's just put it in quotes for anybody who is as sensitive as Derek. And it bears a study. And, being anti-white is not being anti-white people. So, let me read this. Nina Livesey's book on Paul was just published last year, in which she revives some of the takes by the Dutch radicals. I haven't read it, but starting from the Book of Acts seems poorly conceived. Well, Kip, excuse me, Dr. Davis. I should just call you Kip. We're not on that kind of level yet. I mean, I guess, watch Derek's space and see who's going to have on next. She did say it, and I agree. I'm also anti-white because white is not an ethnicity. White supremacy is cultural erasure. There's no such thing as white. Right. Exactly. I am fairly certain. I'll keep that up. Sumami, I'm fairly certain that Derek, if Derek wasn't sure who to pick between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, he does not understand that framing of whiteness. He just doesn't. And I'm sure he's never had anybody on this actually talked about it. But I mean, his show doesn't even get into that. Now that he's got 2 politics channels, he should get into that. So
you are white. But what I said is
that's not Jesus, Derek. That wasn't her point.
I don't hate white people, with a very uncomfortable pause that followed. Very weird. This is going.
Also that too. Maybe she did mean white, but I just took that as a joke. I took it as both ways, right? It is a joke. She was being flippant. She was being kind of intentionally offensive. But also, I have heard Heathen Queen, Jessica, go off on some of these issues. And I'm pretty sure her take on whiteness is a lot more nuanced than what Derek's would be.
So far that you need to see people as color. You need to see people by sex. But even then, you can't just assume their sex or gender. You look like a guy, I call you a guy, oh fuck, I'm screwed. You aren't allowed to be conservative or you're racist.
Jesus. Being conservative in the sense of what? Like we're gonna have a debate on whether or not like capital gains tax rates or something like that. You're not gonna let me be conservative in that sense. Yeah. If conservative means that you believe in low capital gains, taxes, and being a liberal or being a leftist means high capital gains rates, that doesn't have anything to do with anything. It has nothing to do with anything. Especially now in the United States, where the literal issue is we have a president that wants to suspend things like habeas corpus and has a Secretary of Homeland Security that can't even define what habeas corpus is.
There are many other doctrines of this cult, and they continue to build over time. For example, there was a rift in the online community between vegans and meat eaters. To be completely honest, the vegans have the moral upper ground. In this,
I'm 100% hillbilly. I might be that. I actually kind of agree with Samami here. She says, I have Irish, Cornish, Bavarian, Scandinavian in my DNA. There's no white land in there, LOL. Yeah. I found out the last one that popped up for me was like 40. Well, it's kind of sad too, because anybody that sees it, it's like 44% Scottish, 22% Germanic, Western Europe, another 20% or 10% Eastern Europe, Northern Italy. And so anybody is like, you're basically just a white mutt. And I'm like, I don't know about that. I kind of feel like the white thing is between England and America, but that's just me. Just me. I'm oversimplifying greatly. And thanks, Maya.
This community, you are actually murdering animals and claim to be a good person while contributing to mass farming industry slaughter of living creatures? However, most of these members who eat meat find a way to make eating meat okay. I've seen...
Yeah, well, kind of. My whiteness is greatly overshadowed by my queerness. Thank you, Brie, for that. Now he's trying to do like what? Okay. No, I'm not gonna take the bait. Let's just see what
Matt Delahanty respond to this. Suppose we are vegans. Should we cancel those who eat meat, the meat eaters, and go out of our way to boycott them? They're doing evil. Why not? Be consistent. Oh, you don't realize the evil that you commit because you're probably a meat eater in this community. Also, on a recent stream that was slamming me for having Bob on, they threatened to boycott MVP-courses.com.
With the plug. I knew he had it in him. Yes, he did it. They threatened to ban MVP-courses.com.
Which is my wife's business. Ryan's business. She runs it. And even...
She seems pretty.
Kip chimed in and go, oh, no, not my course. As if, are you okay with them boycotting the other courses, Kip? Come on, man.
I agree. Vegans aren't superior. They just eat different life. Yeah. I think something could be said. Actually, I don't think that there's anything morally different between a vegan and a vegetarian. Vegans would disagree, mostly because they're like, well, if you use animals to get their milk and make cheese and steal honey from bees and this kind of stuff, then what kind of an awful person? Yeah, but I didn't like kill them and eat them. It's an interesting moral debate. Meanwhile, I have leftover sausage, pizza in the fridge that I will not allow to go to waste.
I thought you're my friend. I thought you have my back. I need help here. I don't think you realize what's happening here, and you're playing a part of this. This isn't good. This isn't good.
I don't get this either. So can anybody tell me about this? Sometimes I'm still confused how MythVision is qualified to sell courses online. What kind of courses are these? These MVP-courses.com. Are they courses on like the MythVision content or something? Is it like a webinar kind of thing? You can go on there and click on it
Good. My wife is a woman who's working her ass off every day to try taking care of her children. These pieces of shit want to destroy everything I and my queen have built.
You and your queen? You and your queen. All hail Queen Ryan, monarch of MVP-courses.com, and King Derek, liege lord of MythVision. Okay, that's a bit weird. Autotrophs are the morally superior life forms. I'm gonna have to look up that word, Bree, unless you want to describe it in the live chat. I'm not gonna tell you that you have to, but I'd have to look it up because I'm not sure. I always thought that fruitarians might be the most like the most ethical in terms of you're just eating the fruit of plants. So just beans and any fruiting plant. You only eat the fruit of them, and that's it.
I ask everyone who's watching this to consider carefully where we're all headed in this world and understand why I don't believe Bob is what these people are trying to accuse him of. I also don't want to pretend that...
Sigh. Can everyone please go and buy one of Derek's courses? I don't even care which one. Buy Richard Carrier's shit course for all I care. Oh my God, is that one of them on there? Hang on. Hang on. I didn't even think about this. MVP-courses. Sorry for not including the screen, taking you all on the ride. Oh, no. Okay, James Tabor. I kind of like him, but I don't know. Dr. Davis, what do you think of Dr. Tabor's stuff? Huh? Eh? Good with an if, no with a but kind of thing? Like, how does it work? There's one on here from Robin Faith Walsh. The religious significance of the Apostle Paul. That one would be pretty good, I think. Huh. MVP courses. Okay, so this is kind of like in the same vein as like kind of like what Bart Ehrman has. Three with Tabor. Oh, there's one with Bowen, two with Robin Faith Walsh, one with Cara Cooney, Ancient Near Eastern, one with Dale Allison, Dennis McDonald, one with Kip Davis. They allowed that Marxist renegade weirdo in there. Real Israelite religions? Nah, that's a bunch of propaganda. Let's see. Yeah, David, what? Richard Carrier. Okay. New Testament studies for everyone. Well, that seems kind of safe, right? Or maybe that's what the sigh was for. Never mind. Let's get back into this.
He's perfect, but he is my friend. I also want you to understand that several black friends, beyond just Brady, who did a stream about this, they've encouraged me to continue with my friend Bob, like Durante. They believe that if he is harboring shit and he doesn't even realize, the only way for change is to work with him. If he is realizing it, even more reason to try and help him. I know this firsthand with my own parents. My mom has come a long way in her beliefs about the world, and I would never give up on my mom. It reminds me of some people in this cult who suggest in their communities that they should separate from their family members because those family members are Christians. Their family members need punishment for their beliefs because they feel
Derek, the establishment of boundaries is not punishment. Seek therapy.
Oppressed by these beliefs. They don't even realize that they are oppressing others while claiming to be the oppressed.
No. Insisting on boundaries is not reverse oppression. That is remarkably unhealthy thinking. Holy shit. And I am a remarkably unhealthy man. That is not a good way of thinking about that. Establishing boundaries is very, very different than forcing people away or shutting yourself off from the world or any of this other kind of stuff. They're not equivalent things. And the establishment of boundaries when it comes to especially stuff like this, we all have the ability to interact with each other in this venue on the internet, but none of you know me. With the exception of maybe two of you. I have two friends that have direct contact with me that are friends of the show. They can contact me directly. For the most part, everybody knows me the way that I present myself on here. If I do something harmful or I do something obnoxious and they need to create a boundary from me, it's very simple to do that. They simply leave the channel. They stop watching my content. If they reach out to me and they express a concern about the way I'm doing something, the way I express something, a guest I had on, whatever, that's an opportunity to grow. That's an individual. That individual did not need to do that. We already have a natural boundary built into this creepy social media kind of thing that keeps us at a distance from each other anyway. It's not entirely honest. So if somebody takes the time, it's like people talk about the fact that trolling is very, very easy. Anybody can just write a hateful comment. That's very true. But it takes a lot of work for somebody to try to write something thoughtful. And I think it takes a patient person to try to understand the difference between the two. And if somebody takes the time to write something that is carefully critical of what you're doing, I think you owe it to yourself to look at that, analyze that for what it's worth, because that person took their time to do that when, if they were offended, hurt, felt misunderstood, whatever, can reestablish those boundaries and those barriers in a healthy way and just cut your show off. They don't need to watch my shit. They don't need to watch Derek's shit. Maybe the healthiest thing for them is to establish that barrier and just, nope, that's not me. Not now. I can't do that. We'll revisit that in a few months later on. We'll see what happens. But I don't have it in me. I don't have the bandwidth right now. Perfectly acceptable. But they take the opportunity to step in and say, hey, you had somebody on there that said something that I thought was cross-eyed. You had somebody on there that said something I thought was really weird. You had somebody on there that has a history of writing all this shit over here. Can you try to square this with your viewership? Derek went through the motions of doing this 2 years ago and now acts like the fact that he did that was forced upon him by a woke mob, and he was rolled then, and now he's aware of it now. This is a bad idea, I think, in a lot of ways. And since this is coming to a close, I just want to point this out. For guys like me and for Derek, anybody in this community, whether they're trans, people of color, LGBT, Q, whoever, we do not automatically get it. We simply don't. Most of our exposure to a lot of your stories are fringe, anecdotal, and unfortunately, in a lot of cases, if you're imbibing a lot of right-wing media, is used to make the white person, the white guy, feel bad because you started feeling bad first. It's his fault. That's how we tend to think about this. I don't know what the cure for this is, other than individual effort, but relying on Americans generally to do an individual effort to kind of claw their way out of this, I think, is probably not the healthiest thing. Most of what has to happen in a lot of this stuff, I think, is what has already occurred. My criticism of Derek does not matter at all. It isn't going to matter, right? Anybody's going to look at me, this hat, my glasses, my audience, and say, oh, no, Jeff's just a woke guy. And he's trying to appeal to a left-wing audience or a liberal audience, and he's siding with them for clicks. If anybody's seen my subscription count or my viewer count, you know that that's bullshit, but that's not going to stop that kind of criticism. But my level of criticism for Derek is based on what he's presenting here and based on what I think he's doing in terms of critical thinking. I cannot begin to get into the impact this language has, combined with the rhetoric from Dr. Price and the impact that had 2 years ago when members of this community from populations of color, people of color, LGBTQ, heard that shit and had to deal with it. Because now they're in a situation where they're trying to punch up at that. They're fans of this show. They're fans of this content. Not my show, but Derek's. And they're trying to make a correction. It turns into this whole thing. Some content creators and scholars who would be guests on here would, bow out, like Dr. Bowen and stuff like that. The situation that happened then was precisely the situation that Derek is suggesting should happen. People of color and people from the LGBT community should engage with Dr. Price and Derek about these issues. They are. Right now. And Derek, and I'm sure Robert Price, and certainly the guy from Gnostic Informant, is his name Neil? Don't like it. They don't like that. So when I hear them say, it's your responsibility as the aggrieved communities to come to them and meet them 3/4 of the way and teach them how to be better people, and their reaction is, from Dr. Price, hell no, I won't bend a knee to the woke mom. Derek's is essentially the same thing. I'm leaving the online atheist cult. Gnostic informants was, I'm embarrassed to have ever been associated with these people in the past. I don't have to do what you tell me. Okay. So it's all on you to do this stuff for us, the white guys. And when you do, our reaction is, go fuck yourself, don't make me cry. This is the white guy blind spot. And I'm talking about this from my own perspective. I have run into this many times myself. This has been a thing that has been going on in my life for at least, God, how old am I now? 37 years. Really more 27 years, but there's some years in my later teen years where this is kind of a problem. The idea that the people that there are people in this country that feel aggrieved. That's one thing, right? And I think Derek and Dr. Price and the guy from Gnostic Informant get that. There are people out there that feel aggrieved by things that they've said and done. They don't honestly understand why. They don't understand the weight they're putting on your groups in order to correct them. They don't get it. And it does not matter if someone like, I mean, it maybe helps if somebody like me tells somebody like Derek or Price or Gnostic Informant, like, hey, dude, take a look at this book. Take a look at this thing. Take a look at that. They're still not entirely going to get it. They're going to gut that. It's going to be really tough because our culture does not let white guys accept that shit. We don't. We won't. Saying you're sorry means admitting it's your fault. That is something that people are taught in the United States. At least it's heavily implied. White guys internalize that greatly. We shouldn't, but we do, especially if they're cops. My issue with all of this kind of stuff moving forward is that the only thing that I can do is listen better. I've gotten caught up in this. So I realize that me criticizing somebody like Derek for this boneheaded move, when I dropped the R word the last time I was live on Maya's channel. Not cool. Plenty of people on there caught me in it, called me on it. Maya corrected me on it. I put her and Tapioca Weasel in a terrible position because of it. I've had to adjust my thinking around that. There are people in left-wing circles that don't feel that they shouldn't avoid that word. But that's on them. But that was a learning moment for me. I can react to that as a white guy and a content creator two ways. I won't bend the knee to the woke mob, or that's a good point. Let me think about it. First two reactions. Now, I reacted the second way. It's a good point, and I thought about it. And what I realized was the reason that I was comfortable saying something like that in Maya's channel was because I can get away with it, even after the fact. I'm not comfortable with that fact. But as a content creator in my line, I can go out and find allies that would support me for that. Like, oh, of course you can say it that way. And did you use that word to describe a person or an inanimate thing or whatever? Whatever. We would make a lot of different excuses for it. That's not the problem. The problem is that there are a group of people out there that don't want to hear that word being used in a derogatory way because it's used to connote images of themselves in a way to denigrate something else. They're being compared to something else that's deficient or bad or something else. That's a problem. But the bigger problem is that for me as a content creator, as a white guy, the white guy blind spot, I don't have to, in this country, in this content creation bubble, I don't have to listen to that. I could do what digital inform. I don't have to listen to what you say. You don't control me, blah, blah, blah. That's one way of looking at it. What I'd like to think is that if I'm bothering to actually speak with any of you or talk at you through a camera, is that I'm hoping that I can learn from you. And I'm hoping that you can learn from me. And if that's the case, I have to be open to when people tell me that I'm getting shit wrong. If they think I'm being performative, if they think I'm being dismissive or flippant. One person thinks I'm an ally, another person thinks I'm a turncoat or just in it for the clicks. It happens. But what I'm seeing from Derek over here is the worst way you can engage with this kind of content in this social media environment today. Dig your heels in, pick your party, pick your tribe. Don't engage. Don't say you're sorry. Saying you're sorry means you've admitted fault. Now you're liable. This is all a mistake. And if you believe in free thinking and exposing yourself to these ideas, especially the scholarship ideas that from the scholars that Derek is trying to host, it should be downstream from that to engage in critical thinking about some of these cultural and political issues. And if it's not, and when people try to say, hey, you've got a scholar on there who claims to be critically thinking about the Bible, but believes that Tucker Carlson is a truth teller. Okay, we got a problem there. And Derek, 2 years later, is you're attacking him and you're being unfair. No, they're not. None of them are being unfair. Derek is being unfair. Dr. Price is being unfair. Dr. Price wouldn't listen to any of Derek's fans. He'd go on Derek's show, but if any of you as his viewers had a problem with what things that he said or things that he'd said in the past, he couldn't be asked about it. I couldn't, I can't be arsed. I can't be fucked. No. I don't need to explain myself to you. Maybe you do. You came on here as an expert. You claim to have a background in this, but now we found you have a background in all of this insanity too. You want to tell me, you want to set our minds at ease how this stuff doesn't blend in with that stuff? His reaction? Go fuck yourself. I won't bow the knee to the woke mob. And now, neither will Derek. So Derek is basically setting up an introductory video for his 2 Nazi youth politics channels, which apparently that's going to be the theme, where no one needs to bow the knee to anyone. Somehow, I guess. I'm not trying to be hyperbolic, but I'm not exactly sure where else his channel is going to go if this is the kind of critical thinking we're being exposed to. And he proudly showed off that 10-minute clip in this video of his friend Gnostic Informant also losing his goddamn mind over tweets that he harvested from Heathen Queen. But they're not the problem. They're the ones with the bigger streams. They got the bigger channel. They got the bigger audience. And now they're getting so antsy in their pantsy, I guess they feel like they can stand to shed 5 or 10% of y'all. Because some of you are getting a little bit, you're getting a little too outspoken. And if they do that, they're going to get the comments like somebody was on here saying, they're going to get the comments that I've been saying. Well, it's about time you took a stand for poor Dr. Price. It's about time you divorced yourselves of those woke weirdos over there, those crazy atheists. We knew you were one of us all along. One of us. Stuff, shit like that. That's what's going on over there. That's the blind guy. That's the white guy blind spot. That's why we don't get it. And if we do get it, we get it for a little bit and then we snap back into it. If anybody's ever seen the end of Shutter Island or read the book, then you kind of know what I mean. You kind of like wake up for a brief minute and then you're right back into the delusion. So without slipping into more of a sermon on this, I think there was one other point that I needed to make because there were a few that were really good. I wanted to reiterate these. Jay, in the video that he had hosted, said that he made a really good point about this. He said that people breaking from religion because they see the real harm it does versus other people who are engaged with the philosophical and theological concerns abstractly treat it like a game. There seems to be this tension between the two, where people who have been raised in fundamentalist Christian backgrounds are looking at the effect of religion on the way it affects people and the way they treat themselves and the way they behave in public, as opposed to some of the stuff that Derek seems to be talking about, which is, or Gnostic Informant, hey, we can just talk about the Bible, we can talk about scholarship, biblical scholarship, and we don't have to talk about the rest of it. Okay, that's fine. The problem with that is that they were leaving out a great big missing piece, and that is how those beliefs apply to those people's behavior. And if they just try to pretend that that's not a thing, well, they're kind of missing out on a huge audience there, I think, and kind of doing the whole thing a disservice, because there's two different ways of looking at these texts. One is to have the scholar on to kind of tell lay people how they approach this stuff very pragmatically, very cleanly, and then maybe have another expert that comes on and says, okay, well, here, given what this person says about this text, what effect do you think that has on this theological concept? Because this theological concept is based on a church tradition codified or supported by this text, interpreted this way. And the consensus among scholars is that that's wrong. Where do we go from there? That would be interesting to do. I don't know to what extent that MythVision does this, because like I said, I don't follow the show completely. But based on what I'm hearing them say here, they're trying to say that Derek can have Robert M. Price on, because Robert M. Price isn't going to tell you what to do with any of this information ethically or morally. He's just going to lay it out for you, and that's going to change your mind and change your thinking. And you don't have to worry about the fact that he's a bigot or anything. Even though Derek was so moved by the words of Dr. Price when he listened to him on the podcast, the Geek Bible Geek podcast or whatever, that he's developed an emotional attachment to this man for decades. To just let that roll around in your head about how contradictory that is. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Oh, Sumami had made a point when she was on as a guest. She had said that people like Derek are not affected by Dr. Price's racist rhetoric, so they feel comfortable around it. I kind of approached that already. That's true. We do kind of. But white guys still, this is a very important thing. This is part of the whole white guy blind spot. It took me a long time to get around this. A lot of white guys in the United States view Black contributions to American society, American culture, as peripheral, even though they're mainstream. And I would say quintessential to any kind of definition of what America is. In fact, based on what I've learned over the years, I would say the only group that has had a larger effect on what American culture, if it can be consolidated into one thing, other than First Nations groups, are African Americans, because of the effect of the institution of slavery. In terms of music, the effect it had on music, the effect it had on literature, the effect it had on politics, the effect it still continues to have to this day. That is quintessentially American. Most of us as white guys treat that population and those concerns as peripheral. That's a sidecar. America is a motorcycle. The African American experience is attached to it. America is Batman. The African American experience is Robin. That is how American white guys usually approach that, at least from my perspective and from the perspective I've gotten from friends. That seems to be the way that we deal with it. We don't treat the experiences as equal, and because those cultural, if you were to take into account the contributions culturally of American Blackness versus American whiteness, Blackness probably trumps it in terms of music, literature, writing, art, you name it. If it's a quintessentially, uniquely American thing, it came out of populations like this. And we as white men are told to view that as optional. Not explicitly, but the message gets through. That's the white guy blind spot. That's what Derek's operating from. Dr. Price is operating from the same thing. Dr. Price is operating from the fact that America was right at one point and has now slipped into some kind of problem. And a lot of that problem is the influence of the left or the LGBTQ or the trans or something like that. There is a corrosion. It's on it. It's pulling it away. If you can just get these basic things right, the magical thinking, you just have a nuclear family and a white picket fence and everybody does their part. You got the mom that brings home, the mom that takes care of the family, the dad that brings home the income, the son that becomes a businessman or a soldier, and the daughter that becomes a breeding female mom that repeats the mom's role. You will have a successful culture. Despite the fact that that is built to fail, because that negates civilization. It negates community, culture, family. It even negates clansmanship as you have more siblings and stuff. It just negates reality. It's the fascist dream, though. And for people in Fox News trying to spill that thing out, keeping people separated based on these kinds of cultural grievances and shit, somebody like Dr. Robert Price comes out and starts talking about BLM protesters. They're the problem. Trans people, they're the problem. Gay rights activists, they're the problem. White guy blind spot. So, all right, I've been on here long enough. I can probably get rid of this. So, Kent Hovind writes, my stepson is 34. We live in a small white town in a small white county in rural Missouri, and he's never lived anywhere else. Last week he told me that racism ended a long time ago. Swear to God. Yep. Yeah, that sounds right. And there's a lot of guys that talk like that. The attitude that I get from younger guys that I see, the quote unquote vibe shift that happened. And I'm sorry to end it on this depressing. I know the quote unquote vibe shift that happened amongst male voters in the United States with Donald Trump was built on a lot of this shit. The only other group that is disregarded more than First Nations or African Americans is women. 1, 2, and 3, and they're very closely combined. And we watched that happen. And as things have come up, there's been new research about the newest results of like who voted for what. Amongst super engaged voters, Harris actually engaged more people. The Democratic Party in general engaged more super engaged voters. But amongst the ones that were not so well engaged, a little bit more populist, a little bit more, a hit or miss, they went for Trump. Why? Nobody's going to vote for a woman. And they certainly weren't going to vote for a woman of color. Why not? Because Fox News, right-wing news, I know I'm saying Fox News a lot, probably too much, but they're the ones that spearheaded this. They told everybody that the white man blind spot belongs to black women. They can't possibly understand your plight. They won't ever know. And if you put one of them in charge, they'll take everything from you and give it to somebody else. That's American conservative thinking for you. They didn't vote for her because they believe that her mentality, ironically, coincidentally, is theirs. If we get in charge, we're taking everything for ourselves. And look what he's doing. As a white guy, I don't have really much to complain about unless my tax bracket gets affected. People that don't work, they're going to lose it. People that are working class, they're going to lose it. People that are, by and large, people of color, they're going to lose stuff. So people much, much wealthier than me that might like the cut of my jib, if I went and turned super conservative like Derek's about to do on his channel, yeah. I mean, I wish I were Derek. Next couple of years, he's probably going to make a lot of money doing this shit. because that's what's happening. Derek's going more right wing for views. And the only way I can really think about why he would do that is because the way he's spinning this thing, like I said, all 50 minutes of this thing are a grift. He's looking to cash in on something else. If he's got a grievance with anybody, it's because they've made things kind of difficult for him. And he really didn't. All he had to do was tell Bob, look, Bob, you're my friend. You can be my friend. Come on over. We'll have drinks. You're not coming on my show. Just that simple. Seems like the kind of self-reliant, hard-headed, hard-nosed, firm-minded thing that a conservative would be proud of. But they're not, because they're lunatics. Conservative doesn't mean a goddamn thing anymore. Right now, they're a bunch of freaks. And they're losing their minds. So, and we're all here to lose our minds with them while they, stay in charge. Daniel Cooper says, I voted for Harris and I'm a white male age 54. I did too. You and I are in I think, one of the smaller minorities. I've been saying that. Yep. I don't think that the media did not make enough of an issue out of the fact that there was a big race and gender issue with Kamala Harris. They instead talked about the horse race aspect of, well, the Republicans made a great idea with that whole, it's us, it's we, us, not they, them, whatever nonsense. I thought it was fascinating to see people congratulate conservatives on playing a better pronoun game than the woke left. But here we are. I think Jon Stewart should run. He won't. He doesn't have the temperament for it. I think if he wanted to, he had a responsibility to run a long time ago. He should have run this last year. If he was concerned about Donald Trump being in, he should have run, but he didn't. So he can go fuck himself. Not only that, and he's right wing. So I like him because he is as far as liberals go, he's in the kind of Keynesian demand side economy camp. The government can spend money to invest in things and make things better for individual people in the working class. Great. But I'm a big fan of Yanis Varoufakis too. And like him, I agree. Capitalism is incompatible with democracy. And it's only a matter of time before demand side Keynesian capitalism gives way to the capitalism that we have now. Supply side, austerity focused capitalism. So get out. I wish y'all could see my dog Samantha Barksdale. She hates Bob too. Jesus. So with that being said, please let me know what you think in the comments. I've been on way too long. I need to jump off. Like and subscribe or do whatever. That's not going to be a big deal. I'm going to be making an announcement here another week or two. So I probably am not going to be on much. If you've noticed, I haven't been on that much anymore. But this one bugged the shit out of me. So I wanted to make a video out of this. Yeah. Like and subscribe if you feel like it. Send me some comments if you do. If you want to email me, jeffersonspatchcock@gmail.com. I think that'll be it. I'm probably going to stop in with Discord here after the show and check in with a few people, see if they want to talk. But other than that, I think I'm ready to go. So I hope the rest of you have a great rest of your night, and I will see you all when I see it.